It is 10 o'clock. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten run to 15 games in all competitions on Wednesday with a 5-2 win over DC United in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. Sam Surridge with 2 goals as Nashville stormed back from down 2-0. They move on to the U.S. Open Cup semifinal, which will be played in September, and they will await the winner between New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia Union. Meanwhile, this Saturday, Nashville jumps back into MLS regular season play with a trip to Inter Miami Saturday night. In NBA news, Phoenix Suns star Devin Booker has agreed to a 2-year, $145 million max extension through the 2029-2030 season. It is the highest annual extension salary in NBA history at over $72 million per year. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Now, you don't want to prey on anybody's downfall, but there have to be few moments that are more vindicating in a win than getting the opposing coach fired. That's what Nashville SC was able to at least contribute to last night. 5-2, absolutely dismantling DC United in U.S. Open Cup play after trailing 2-0, as Lucas pointed out. They continue the streak, 15 unbeaten results for the city's hottest team by a mile. Nashville SC is just rolling right now. We love to see it. Welcome in. We're happy to have you. Robert, Lucas, and me with you until 1 o'clock, 615-737-1045. Get in there if you want to. We always look forward to your participation. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can live stream the show via the F&M Bank chat. How about your soccer team, bud?
Yeah, it looked a little dicey early. A slow start. DC kind of jumped on them. 2-0 hole early on, and then Nashville quickly responded after conceding that second goal. And Johnny Perez on a nice finish from a mistake out of the back, and then from there, floodgates just open. Sam Surridge, penalty kick goal. He adds another one later, came close to a hat trick and goal of the season for Nashville by Andy Nahar. Goal of the U.S. Open Cup tournament. This was not MLS regular season play, right? You stepped out of the regular season to play the quarterfinal of the U.S. Open Cup, the American Domestic Cup, and then you get back into regular season play Saturday at Miami. But Nashville suddenly is 2 wins away from its first trophy as a club, as they are in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal for the first time in club history. That will be played in September as they await the winner between Philly and New York Red Bulls. But Andy Nahar, just with the exclamation point, that 30-yard volley, one-time finish.
Former DC United player, isn't he?
That's right. DC United Academy. He was MLS Rookie of the Year back in 2010, playing for DC, and then left and enjoyed a successful stint in Belgium and then back home in Honduras. And he is having a career season now in Nashville as he is into his 30s and not playing like it. He is an MLS All-Star, and whoo, oh, that hit. I mean, that hit did things to me yesterday. I'm not going to lie.
He's looking at me. He's
watching that goal was an out-of-body experience.
Normally it's me asking Robert for cigarettes. It looks like Lucas might come back there and steal one from you.
He can always have one.
I know it. So help me understand this, because I read this and it felt like it was not correct, but I haven't been able to find any information to the contrary. Are they going to have to wait until August 13th to find out who they play?
Yes, and that is just because the game between Philly and New York Red Bulls was supposed to be played yesterday, and there were driving thunderstorms. The weather was kind of insane up there that got it delayed, and so they postponed it to mid-August. It doesn't matter that much because the semifinal won't be until September. It gets sprinkled in throughout the year. You play MLS regular season play, you go on, and then you step out to play a U.S. Open Cup game, and then jump back into the regular season, so on and so forth. A lot of times coaches do a lot of rotation too. They'll kind of reserve U.S. Open Cup for some of their depth players, giving them reps and experience and preserving some of your starter senior level players for regular season play. BJ Callahan rolled out a first team lineup all the way, with the exception of the goalkeeper, Brian Schwacke, the number 2 goalie. This is sort of his tournament. but they're pushing for this trophy. So the comprehensive performance after going down 2-0.
I think I saw Will tweet last night, it's not too late to jump on the bandwagon. And I don't know what else you need to be convinced of to at least be intrigued by them, right? You don't have to be a diehard fan. Nobody's going to make you, paint yourself and send you out into the supporter section and banging on the drums and doing the chants. Do they have their own chants yet? Or are they still kind of cosplaying Pred's chants? What's the vibe over there?
No, I don't think there are any.
Trying to figure it out.
American soccer kind of has these like rinse, repeat. Like it's a lot of the same chants, just tailored to your specific team. You'll just be saying NSC instead of whatever other team in MLS. So no, they don't take any Pred stuff that I know of. What Pred stuff have you seen Nashville SC fans utilize?
I feel like I've seen them try to incorporate the "You Suck" chant, which doesn't have to be exclusively to the Nashville.
Yeah, I might have heard Nashville SC fans do. It's not like prominent though. I don't think it's a thing like it is at Pred's games.
When you fooled me into being a season, not that I wouldn't do it again because they're obviously an excellent product and well worth supporting. But when you
and affordable
in the early going, it was very affordable to be a season ticket holder. But you basically just tricked me into being a season ticket holder so that you could use the ticket that you knew I wouldn't use to let your roommate go.
Yes, because I knew you wouldn't want to step outside into the sun and be surrounded by people. And so I consistently used your tickets to give to friends, to use
I'm
for
glad
myself.
I could do that for you. But in my lone season as a season ticket holder for any of the 3 professional sports teams in this city, I felt like it was a bit of a transitional phase. Now, that was the first season that Geodis Park was open.
Yeah, that was 2022. That was before we had the radio broadcast rights here.
And so they were, it felt like they were still trying to find their identity, but it seems that their identity is winners.
Yeah,
that's all they do.
Well, they just have all these pillars of what you need to be a contender. In Major League Soccer, you get 3 players that you can pay above the salary cap. They're called your designated players. You get 3. Those have to be your guys, your stars, right? So to be a contender, those 3 players have to be producing at an elite level. Well, those players are Sam Surridge, the hottest striker in the league, Hani Mukhtar, a former MVP, one of the best playmakers in the league, and Walker Zimmerman, a multi-time MLS Defender of the Year. Pretty good start, and then you add in the depth that they have, an extremely good goalkeeper in Joe Willis, and a great home field advantage, and they just have all these makings of a contender, whether it's for MLS Cup later in the year or U.S. Open Cup, which they are officially 2 wins away from hoisting. It's been fun.
So Andy Nahar gets the goal to put them up 4-2. Walker Zimmerman also gets in on the action there to put
Came
them
back
up
from his time with the U.S. this summer.
5-2 in the 87th minute. And, like Lucas said, they're just consistently rolling. They're consistently excellent. And the depth is the thing that is going to continue to carry them into the future of their MLS opportunities here, which Inter Miami is next up on their schedule as far as MLS play goes.
Yep, they're back in regular season play Saturday night. Messi and friends await Nashville, and Miami had its struggles earlier in the year. But
Inter Miami hosting?
Yes, and they're rolling right now. They kind of shocked the world in Club World Cup. Nobody expected any MLS team to get out of the group stage in Club World Cup. Miami did. They got steamrolled by PSG, who's probably the best team in the world, in the knockout rounds. But they had no Club World Cup hangover either. They just demolished Montreal last week. Messi was otherworldly, and now they await Nashville on Saturday.
I feel a bit hypocritical, Robert.
About what?
We keep telling people to show interest and investment in the soccer team, and neither you nor I have been to a game yet this year.
Oh, I've been.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I went.
Which one did you go to?
Shut up, Lucas. Me and Cheyenne went to a game, and it was very fun.
No, I'm holding both of you accountable.
The last time that you went to a game, I went to a game, and we took too many tequila shots in the concourse, and I almost threw up in a trash can.
Is there a game this weekend?
Next Wednesday is the next home game.
When is the next weekend game that I could get inebriated at?
Not this Saturday, but next Saturday, the 19th, they host Toronto.
Oh, and you'll both be here. That will be a lot of fun. We can all go as a show.
No, I'll be in the Southern Hemisphere.
I'm going to be in San Diego.
What?
What are you going to do next Friday without both of us?
My best.
What's that going to look like?
We will have a fantastic show for you next Friday. We'll have Rhett Bryan and the classic Dr. Dyson's going to step in for Lucas.
It will be an infinitely more professional show, but I mean, what are you going to do? Because that is not your bag.
I'll be here with bells on.
He's going to be doing a damn great job, as is tradition.
Alleged. You and I are going to have the opportunity, Luke, because Lucas leaves town. Well, I guess, don't technically leave town until Saturday. Or wait, are you driving somewhere Friday and then leaving Saturday?
Right after the show, I drive down to Atlanta Friday and fly straight to Rio from Atlanta Friday night.
Wait, you can't leave right after the show. We have to talk to those poor underprivileged children about soccer after 1:30. We have that meeting with them. You can't miss that.
You've put it on their calendars.
I'll zoom in.
Very bad. It would be a.
Oh, you're gonna not look those kids in their eyes.
I'll zoom in.
They're underprivileged, Lucas. You have to speak to them.
Just don't let Buck call them the poors to their face, please.
The young poors. Yes, good to see you all.
Maybe here's how to not be poor. No, that would not be.
Come on, you can't do that. You can't do that.
What are you and I going to do tomorrow at this WWE thing?
We're going to have a blast.
Be you and me.
We're going to have a blast. You've never been to a wrestling event before.
No, I don't think so. The closest I've ever gotten to a WWE event. I mean, it wouldn't even be that. That was a boxing match.
I'm looking up the matches currently that we'll get to see.
Like, am I going to recognize a single name in the ring? Like,
you will.
What are you going to need me to do? Because I told you that I would take care of the tickets, and we are sitting very, like, if somebody is to bleed, we may get splattered on.
Well, I want you to know that there will be a special guest appearance by One Jelly Roll tomorrow night at Bridgestone. Yes, so you could get us backstage.
Busy weekend at Bridgestone. Goodness.
Is that the only reason you wanted me to go to this thing, is so you have the opportunity to go hang out backstage with people that you wouldn't otherwise be around?
That's not true. I have friends that are wrestlers. They just don't work there anymore. The main event, Jey Uso. You are going to be yeeting as Jey Uso comes in through the crowd for his entrance. He will take on Ring General Gunther.
I'm sorry, what?
He's German.
Okay.
He's a big bad guy.
All right.
It'll be exciting. I'm very excited only to see it through your eyes. You know, when people are like, "Oh, I can't wait to take my kids to see this through a fresh set of eyes." I can't wait for you to be just enthralled by this wrestling.
Is there a chance that I come out of this a WWE fan? Because I can't think of two more opposed things than me and professional wrestling.
I would like nothing more than for you to kindle a relationship with Tiffany Stratton, who is newly single. So you could shoot your shot.
So she's a wrestler?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay.
I'll introduce you to her this weekend. We're big fans, big friends.
Of all the people that
you're going to be in his element on Friday.
This is why I'm nervous. Normally he has to just kind of revolve around me and whatever we're doing, but this is very much Robert Walsh event. So I don't know. I don't like being on my toes like this. I don't like being uncomfortable.
Get ready for those toes to curl, buddy, because you are going to have an orgasmic experience this weekend.
Oh, Jesus.
All right.
It's a little gauche.
Do you know what that word means? You've used it 7,000 times in the last calendar year.
How is that me being like a ghost? I don't understand.
I will need an Urban Dictionary reading of the word gauche.
I believe it to mean like a lack of grace, so to speak, right? Like just a lack, like something, maybe a synonym would be a little crass. We'll see if I'm right.
All right. Just using it. We'll see if I'm right.
I'll be crass. You can be ass.
All right. Very good. 615-737-1045. Speaking of which, speaking of ass, I am here to warn people. This is a PSA. Lucas Panzica is an excellent cook, but he cannot be trusted with food recommendations. He took us to lunch yesterday at a taco truck at a Cheap Charlie's, which we all very much enjoyed.
That
was excellent.
Cheap Charlie's is awesome.
That was not the issue. After downing, what was it that you shoved in your face? A burrito the size of your head, a carne asada burrito? Mm-hmm. After you did that, you decided that was not enough to sustain you, and you said you needed a hot dog, which you've been pining for publicly, privately, on air, off air for weeks at this point. So we coalesced, all right? Robert and I went walking up a hill in the heat in East Nashville from the gas station where Cheap Charlie's resides to a hot dog establishment that will be unnamed because I do not want to denigrate them for no good reason.
You already are. Anybody that's been around that area knows exactly what you're talking about. Like, it's a fantastic
Well, then maybe
place.
they'll have a better product if their sole product is going to be hot dogs.
You got a brat, all right? They don't do brats, they
Which
do dogs.
should be better than a hot dog.
That's no.
He was like, oh, just wait till you try the bun. How good is the bun? I was like, this
delicious.
is rubbery
it's a
and
pillowy,
wet.
delicious bun.
It was neither of those things. Robert got a grilled peach milkshake, which in theory should have been delightful, and it was mid at best.
Yeah. It was
No, the dog's there.
For somebody
go for the dogs.
who prides themselves on their heritage, their food heritage, and then executes at a high level in the kitchen, your inability to recommend good food is crazy to me, which is
Name
why I'm going to
one other
solve.
instance.
There are multiple.
You can't name a single one.
I literally have a video of you somewhere on my phone shoveling taco-flavored jelly beans into your face and saying, do you want to try some?
That's the thing. I can recognize that something like isn't good or isn't a culinary delicacy, but like I'm still going to eat it. Like my taste is good.
Is bad.
I can say like I will eat all of it. I'll eat everything.
I know. That's why you can't be trusted to recommend things that are
but
good.
I can be trusted because I can tell you.
Not based on yesterday.
I can tell you that something is good or bad. I'm going to eat it either way, but I will be able to pass on an honest assessment of something to you. Those jelly beans were terrible. But I don't know. It's a texture thing. I like to be snacking on something. I was intrigued by the ground beef flavored jelly beans, and so I ate them.
Well, I'm gonna solve your problems. Leave it. Just fine. I'll do it again. I'll get Hattie Bees in here. We'll have the delightful Joyland Hattie Bees hot chicken burger. It's pimento cheese, bacon infused pimento cheese that is on a Joyland cheeseburger. The fine folks at Hattie Bees are going to provide those for the show today. So instead of you leaving a bad taste in all of our mouths with your food recommendation, Hattie Bees is going to come save the day. So we'll look forward to that at 11 o'clock. 615-737-1045 is the number. All right, tell me about this top 100 that you want to get into.
Scott Docterman of The Athletic.
Not a real name.
Someone that
Robert Lawyerman, yes.
I know.
What is that voice? What is that tone that you use?
It's his classy voice.
That's my upper echelon voice.
Oh, that's your one percenter?
It's his hoity-toity voice.
You remember from Family Guy, Dr. Longtooth?
Yeah.
He would be sitting and be like, that's my Dr. Longtooth. Or Doctorman Longtooth, if you will.
So Scott Docterman, who is a real person and a real name.
Allegedly.
It's spelled a little different. It's not spelled like a doctor, but anyway. Works for The Athletic. He's a staff writer. He covers Iowa primarily, but just generally a good college football writer and analyst. And he put together a comprehensive ranking of the top 100 rivalries in all of college football. Some people are pissed.
Find out next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie Bees Hot Chicken. Look what I got. Look at this beautiful, delightful, sustenance, southern smash-up burger.
7 and French fried potato.
That is a part of Hattie Bees' collaboration with Joyland to celebrate Nashville Burger Week. Our guy Joe has brought in 10 of them. I said we needed 4, Robert. I have 10 cheeseburgers. Lucas has already laid claim to 5. He literally took the little Hattie Bees toothpick flags. Look at him running in here. It's like I just waved a pack of cigarettes in front of his face. Lucas literally took the little Hattie Bees flags that are on the that are planted on top of the toothpicks and planted his flag in 5 of the cheeseburgers. As he shovels one into his face right now, Robert came in here like somebody stealing something, like he just looted the cheeseburger bag. The Hamburglar, Robert Walsh.
Dude.
All right, give me a review because I haven't not yet bitten into the cheeseburger.
So it's a Joyland burger, a crust burger. Mm-hmm. So it's crispy.
No, it's not a crust burger. Their crust burgers are different. This is a Joyland cheeseburger because they have the standard cheeseburger.
But it's still got that crispy vibe about it, which I love.
Because it has the fried pickles from Hattie Bees. It has the pimento cheese from Hattie Bees. It is, it's beautiful. I almost hate to eat it because it's so pretty.
Oh, I don't.
Now, what you need to know about the Hattie Bees Joyland collaboration here, because the show is fueled by Hattie Bees, but these are not at Hattie Bees. These are at Joyland because it is Burger Week, so that is first and foremost their domain and well worth your time. Now, I know there's one in East by you. I don't know how many other Joyland locations there are. I think there are multiple, though.
Now, you can get this at Joyland. The way the burger just meshes.
I'm going to do the thing that I hate to do. I'm going to eat on air because this thing looks so good.
Yes.
With the tangy crunch of the coleslaw, just drenched in the pimento cheese and the spice of the pimento cheese and the spiced fried pickles. Unbelievable. I also love that Robert had to explain to you that this is Cheeseburger in Paradise by Jimmy Buffett.
Who had to explain that to me?
Robert did.
I've been to Jimmy Buffett shows. I'm a parrot head, baby.
Okay. No, you're not.
Yeah, I am.
Don't you do that to me.
I've been to multiple Jimmy Buffett amphitheater shows while he was still with us.
I was conceived after a Jimmy Buffett show.
Were you really?
And my dad told me and my mom confirmed.
That's awesome.
Really got him going with those boat drinks.
Oh, R.I.P.
Oh, my God, that's so good.
Yeah, man, this is excellent.
And they are the hot fried pickles, right?
Yes,
on top of it.
Fried pickles.
It's the Hattie Bees spice.
It's got to be what, medium? It's just enough to let you know that it's there.
But it's not pickle slaw on it. It's just the fried pickles. This is exceptional.
It's fried pickles. It's Hattie Bees fried pickles with the Hattie Bees hot chicken seasoning with coleslaw and pimento cheese and a Joyland cheeseburger. This is the best thing I think I've ever eaten.
This has ruined burgers for me. No longer will I be able to go through a drive-through and satiate the hunger that is for a burger.
It's good if I'm willing to go back for a second bite while the camera's on me because you know how much I hate that.
Well, I'm not turning the camera off.
The only bad thing about these burgers is that you have a limited time to get them. So go this week to Joyland and get your Hattie Bees Joyland burgers. Man.
It's like the Leo thing from Wolf of Wall Street. We're all just eating on air. This is terrible. The only problem you're going to have...
All 3 of us, you can hear the cheeseburger in our mouth.
The only problem you're going to have is that you didn't buy more.
Well, lucky for us, we have 10.
We do.
Those will be gone before the end of this hour.
By the way, Hattie Bees is doing something really cool to help out the people that are affected by the flooding.
Oh, that's right.
Down in Texas. So... they obviously have locations in Texas. They have them in Austin, in Dallas. Are there locations in Dallas as well? And they are donating. I'm trying to pull up the details as we speak, but they are sending a lot of food to help the victims down there of the flooding in Texas. Obviously, it was a tragic situation. They are on Thursday, which is today, 100% of sales from Austin and Dallas stores are going to the Central Texas Food Bank and their work on behalf of flood victims. So shout out Hattie Bees. 100% of sales.
While Buck is swallowing, we'll note that I am not a huge pimento cheese guy, But this is this is next
The combination,
level.
the flavor combination, you can't beat it.
Like if the reservation you had were, I'm not a big pimento cheese guy, it does not matter.
Do those people exist? Isn't Dawn anti-pimento cheese?
I am not a big pimento cheese guy because when I stayed with my grandpa, he would be like, all right, lunchtime, we're having pimento cheese sandwiches. And I had to eat a pimento cheese sandwich like every day, all summer. And I hated it. But this is rekindling my love for pimento cheese.
Well, I'm happy that Hattie Bees could bring the love back into your loveless life. 615-737-1045 is the number.
How many of these burgers do you think I can eat?
Oh, didn't we talk about doing something where we made Robert once a month or something like that, try and break a Guinness Book of World Records on the air?
God, the coleslaw is so good.
It's all good.
So
it's
tangy.
Delightful.
Yeah, what happened to that?
What happened to that? I don't know. It's like everything else around here. We say something, we forget about it, and then we go about and do 17 other things, like 2 NFC West previews that nobody called us on.
Yeah. Or like teasing something about ranked rivalries and not getting to it.
Shut up. You literally not 5 seconds ago asked me, how many cheeseburgers do you think I could eat?
I regret nothing. The cheeseburgers are the best way to derail a show.
Based on your consumption yesterday, I would put you at a solid 4. Ooh. I bet you could eat 4 of these.
I probably could, but I'm not going to.
I don't think I've ever seen you actually full.
Yeah, that's the problem, man. It's like I will feel full, but I don't. I can't stop.
All right, so Scott Docterman has ranked college football's 100 best rivalries. And there is some level of dispute as to some of the rankings, whether Tennessee, Alabama is high enough, whether USC and Notre Dame should be lower on this list. MTSU and WKU are on this list.
Yeah,
That's how thorough he goes.
Yeah. And no stone uncovered or unturned. Whatever the saying is.
No cheeseburger uneaten.
You can call me Robert Burgerman after this.
Well, I already called you the Hamburglar as you were scurrying out of here with a cheese.
I finished mine. I'm ready for a top-off, ma'am.
So Scott Docterman partnered with Matt Lawyerman to write this for The Athletic, and they have 11 principles and questions that they applied to gauge these rivalry rankings. So Docterman writes, they used data, what the numbers say, how many times they've met as ranked opponents, win-loss disparity, prominence. Does it involve high-profile power conference programs, TV networks, all of those things? Relevance, does it matter to their conference if they play every year? Trajectory, if the series is growing or retracting in importance. Frequency of the series. Proximity, if they're in state, border rivals, and so on. Competitiveness, if it's an ebb and flow kind of thing, or, as he puts it, a hammer versus a nail. Moments, if there were games or plays that stand out decades later. Intensity in terms of the fan bases and the bad blood, longevity on how long they've been playing, and history. Are they the same members of the same conference for a long time? Do they compete for a trophy? Does the game have a name? So a very comprehensive list. I'll give them credit. And unsurprisingly, I guess, have you looked at the list already? You know who's number 1?
I do.
Okay, Michigan, Ohio State.
And it should be. It absolutely should be. The 2 most recent defending national champions. A rivalry that really has no logic or reason other than they hate each other viscerally, and you can feel that in every snap, in every down. Jobs are won, jobs are lost over that rivalry. There is no better rivalry in college football.
Yeah. Iron Bowl is number 2, and number 3, Oklahoma, Texas, the Red River Shootout, and Army-Navy, number 4. USC Notre Dame seems like it's been the first point of contention coming in at number 5.
Too high. When there have been classics between those two programs, it has been a long time since we have had one. I mean, there's not been anything more notable since basically 2005 than the Bush Push, which is one of the most famous games in that rivalry. 1999 was also an incredibly close game, 25-24 in favor of Notre Dame. It was a hell of a comeback. There are games in this rivalry's history, because it is an old rivalry, that do jump out, but not, I mean, I would argue that there has not been a classic USC Notre Dame game in the last 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the first one that comes to mind for any of us, I imagine, would be the Bush Push.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's been years. And Notre Dame has gotten up off the mat. USC has not. years since this game legitimately meant something to the big picture of the college football landscape. I think I'd take more issue, though, with Nebraska-Oklahoma coming in at number 6. Nebraska and Oklahoma, I understand, were a prominent, like, Great Plains rivalry. They've met 88 times. They have that history to back it up. The first time they met was 1912. I mean, Nebraska and Oklahoma for decades and decades were two of the most, if not the two most prominent programs in all of college football. They haven't been to the same conference in years. They're a casualty of conference realignment. They haven't played in 3 years, and they won't play for another 4 years. They have a home-and-home set up for 2029 and 2030, which will be great. I love seeing rivalries revived that were killed off due to conference realignment. Like, I love seeing Texas A&M being back. But I don't know about it being number 6, especially it being ahead of Florida State, who play every single year, or the one that people around here are most upset about, Tennessee-Alabama, which comes in outside of the top 10 at number 11, one spot behind Minnesota-Wisconsin.
All right, so that rivalry has been rekindled. It has been for basically my entire adult lifetime not a contest.
One-sided.
So I don't have an issue if I'm going to ding Notre Dame and USC for being too high without having had a classic game in the last decade, essentially. Then I'm not gonna be willing to prop Tennessee and Alabama up more than they should be, just because historically that is the biggest rivalry. And recently that rivalry has since swung back into the Vols' favor, though I don't know how much staying power that's going to have. We'll see what happens with Alabama and Tennessee in 2025.
But Minnesota-Wisconsin?
Over it?
At number 10? They have played, I didn't know this, their first meeting was 1890. So they've played over 130 matchups. Tennessee and Bama have played 107 times. Their first meeting was 1901. But if you're to use that argument, then apply it to Minnesota, Wisconsin. They have a really cool thing that they play for. I will say that. The Paul Bunyan's Axe is one of the coolest rivalry trophies in all of college football. They used to play for the slab of bacon. But according to the article, it got lost in the 40s, and it was discovered.
What, the trophy?
Yeah, the slab of bacon was lost and was discovered at a Wisconsin storage facility in 1994.
Somebody took it and ran. And
they refused, after it was discovered, Wisconsin refused to hand it to Minnesota, despite the fact that Minnesota had won the previous iteration. I love that. I love that there were 50 years that went by, like the Mona Lisa disappearing, where the slab of bacon was lost. That's the stuff
the
that
Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly. Like, the great rivalries are made of that kind of stuff. But maybe it's just us being in this part of the country. But when's the last time any of us could sit there and point out a classic Minnesota-Wisconsin game? Whereas we can sit here and talk about Tennessee-Alabama of 2022, or even last season. That was an incredible game at Neyland Stadium that affected both teams in the college football playoff hunt. I don't know. That one for me, I wouldn't like it. Ohio State, Penn State, too.
It's so recent, Lucas. It's just 2 years that Tennessee and Alabama has felt like a rivalry.
Yes, but again,
and that's only because Bama's been down.
I'm not saying it needs to be top 5, but Minnesota, Wisconsin?
Well, what's the logic of it being ranked as high as it is?
Minnesota, Wisconsin?
Yeah, what's the blurb?
He says, perhaps no other border feud contains the ecstasy of victory and misery and defeat like Minnesota, Wisconsin.
I believe that. What else do those people have?
They are codependent Big Ten rivals in every sense of the word. While the Badgers have been more successful the last 3 decades, the result of this game impacts how every season is remembered for both teams. And he also adds that they have played 5 more games against one another than any other series in FBS. They've played every year since 1907 and have missed only 1 season on the gridiron, 1906, since their first kickoff.
So they've got longevity. They've got a higher level of competitiveness, even though, as he points out, Wisconsin has gotten the better of Minnesota in the last 3 decades. To me, that I understand that the stakes are usually bigger between Tennessee and Alabama, and you would assign a greater level of importance to two SEC name brand programs playing against one another than you would Minnesota and Wisconsin, but I don't have an issue with it.
But honestly, my biggest gripe with this whole list is not Tennessee, Bama at 11. By the way, Tennessee's in here 5 times. Tennessee, Florida's at 36, which I think a lot of people were saying it's too low, but I don't have a problem with it. That rivalry didn't start till the 90s.
Win a game in the swamp.
Sure. Like it for about a decade.
There's a lot of griping from Tennessee fans that just recently got back into the mix here.
Well, Tennessee and Florida didn't start playing each other until in 1992 when divisions came about in the SEC, like annually playing each other, and they just happened to be the two best programs in the SEC at the time. Okay, it's outside of the top 30. That's fine. Tennessee, Georgia comes in at 53. Tennessee, Kentucky at 75. Tennessee, Vandy at 80. Made the cut in the top 80. Tennessee versus Vanderbilt.
I don't have a problem with that.
My biggest gripe with this thing,
if there's 100 of them, I think that's okay.
What, Tennessee, Vandy?
Yeah.
Oh, God, yeah. They've been playing for so long.
Yeah.
Ole Miss and Mississippi State. That the Egg Bowl is outside of the top 20 is egregious to me. And I have bias here because this is my favorite rivalry in college football.
It's one of the drunkest games of the year every year.
Every year. It's chaos. The cliche of, throw the records out. These teams are playing each other. It, to me, only applies to Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I don't think there is more unbridled hatred between two programs than Ole Miss, Mississippi State. Michigan and Ohio State hate each other, but I do think there is some level of respect there. Ole Miss and Mississippi State don't have a shred of respect for one another. And that's, to me, what makes it my favorite rivalry.
So that you've got Elijah Moore, doing the fire hydrant celebration in the end zone and stuff like that.
To put the Egg Bowl behind Iowa, Wisconsin, or Kansas, Missouri, which also got shot dead because of conference realignment.
Yeah.
Nah, man. I can't accept that.
That's a fair gripe.
I cannot accept that.
Okay. Well, you can call the doctorman up and yell at him as you please.
Bama LSU. It's a good rivalry between two contending teams every year. It is not, there's not more hatred in Alabama LSU than the Egg Bowl. That's insanity. Bama LSU is 10 spots ahead of the Egg Bowl.
I wonder how many Alabama and LSU fans would argue that, though.
No, who am I to say? But no, to me, that's my biggest gripe. Egg Bowl should be minimum top 15.
Today is Tennessee Takeover Day on the SEC Network, and they seem to have forgotten one thing. We'll tell you what that is coming up next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie Bees Hot Chicken. Right now, the show is fueled by the Southern Smash-Up Hattie Bees Joyland Cheeseburger, available at the nearest Joyland location to you as places around the city celebrate Nashville Scene Burger Week. I mean, I would declare a winner right now if you'd let me. Wait, how is this voted on? I feel like we should have a vote.
Is the voting already closed?
Surely not. No, Burger Week is ongoing. Or maybe it's just like special deals on the burgers as opposed to an outright vote. Like, I don't know if there's a winner at the end of the week.
I will do some research.
All right, find out for me. Many people want Heisman Trophy votes. I've often talked about an NFL MVP vote and things like that. No, I'd rather just have a Nashville Burger Week vote. That'd be fine. 615-737-1045 is the number if you want to jump in. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. You can live stream the show if you so choose. You can see Lucas continue to shovel cheeseburgers into his mouth throughout the course of today's broadcast. I was expecting Tennessee Takeover Day on the SEC Network to feature one thing in particular. Now, they always do a good job of going across the spectrum and making sure that all the major sports get their due. And Tennessee is a highly successful athletics department across the board. So you're probably going to be entertained by stuff. When I was leaving the gym this morning, Tennessee baseball was on. And when I looked at the schedule, when it was put out, I noticed Brent Doherty tweeting about one big thing that was missing from the Tennessee Takeover Day. Lucas, why is there not a football game on the SEC Network during Tennessee Takeover Day?
I know, it's crazy, right? Like, the only football thing on here is an all-access look into Tennessee spring football at 7:30. That's going to go for 30 minutes before the UCLA game, the softball game from the Women's College World Series, which is a great moment.
Possible, coming off of one of the most successful seasons that football program has had in God knows how long.
I know, and think about the games last year, the Oklahoma game, the Heupel return to Norman, right? SEC opener, grinding out that victory. The Florida game, an overtime win at home against your arch rivals. And the Alabama game.
Yeah.
Like the game that probably got you into the college football playoff. One of the games that kept Alabama out. They had some other losses that definitely didn't look great on their resume. This seems insane to me. Like, all of these are great moments. Softball versus Florida in the Women's College World Series, great. Men's basketball against Auburn in the SEC tournament semifinal, great. Women's basketball against UConn. That's what's on right as we get off the air. Fantastic moment for Kim Caldwell knocking off UConn in the regular season. But I don't know, 3 p.m., a regular season baseball game against Florida? Is that what we're doing?
Harold on YouTube is alleging that they didn't want to show Nico Iamaleava. Is there
interesting
any logic? It's complete tinfoil hat conspiracy. We don't know that to have any grounding in fact or reality.
Interesting.
But is there a world in which the University of Tennessee said, no?
I have...
We're good. Don't put him on TV again.
I have no earthly idea.
That would be so petty.
I'm curious. In fact, I'm going to see if I can find out exactly what the process is.
Who would you even ask about that?
True. I got people.
Do you?
Yeah.
I don't... There's never been a less convincing sources say.
I have no idea how they choose what games to use, but that's the best theory I can think of.
Harold would like the reckless speculation sound for himself. I think that's fair. I think he earned it. That's a pretty good example of reckless speculation. Thank you.
Like, you're doing a volleyball game at 5:30? No disrespect to the volleyball program, but
it sounds like he's like running circles around us. I hope Blaine's okay with us using that as often as we do.
I love it.
It is delightful. It puts a smile on my face. Blaine puts a smile on my face every time I see him, but that in particular does.
I have made an egregious error before we get back to whatever the hell you guys were talking about. How did I not play this last week? How did I forget to do that?
Old but gold.
They had a float with a put it in reverse Terry parade, or a put it in reverse Terry float at the 4th of July parade in the city where that happened.
That is do you guys ever watch Good Times? Anytime you need a payment,
I don't
good
think so.
times. They had a guy on there that would say, dynamite. He's like, everything is dynamite. That's our dynamite. Or every July 4th, like, we're going to be 40 years from now. It's going to be all us old people being like, put it in reverse.
Are you talking about a television show from the 1970s?
Yes, old people used to be like, dynamite. That's our dynamite.
You were born in 93. What do you know about Good Times?
We were very poor when I was growing up, so my mom used to record.
So you're the poor I was talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, Buck would have hated you.
It was I.
Would've.
Especially as a child. My mom would record.
They're less fortunate?
My mom
Get
would
him out of my
record
face.
on VHS tapes, TV Land. And so when we went to the beach and didn't have cable, she could just put in the VHSs of TV Land that she recorded, and it would be like I Dream of Jeannie or Good Times or Andy Griffith Show. So I had to watch all of the Flying Nun, like shows that have been off the air for 50 years before I was born.
That was a big Nick at Night thing, I felt like, when you'd stay with your grandparents. Those shows would
Nick
be
at
on.
Night.
Nick at Night was always playing The Nanny.
Oh, love The Nanny.
The Nanny's
Fran
a banger.
Drescher, so bad. Now it's just what's the George Lopez?
A lot of George Lopez. Woke up to a lot of George Lopez at 3 a.m.
Oh,
My.
the low rider.
But to the SEC Network thing, just play the 2022 Bama game. But it's crazy to me to leave out a football game. That seems insane. But that's the only reason that seems feasible is that they didn't want Nico.
It's complete speculation by the chat, but it's as good a reason as I could possibly think of.
I got nothing else as to why they would play a volleyball game instead
Josh
of football.
Heupel called the bat phone and said, no, we're not putting the football team on this year. We don't want to give him any more shine than he deserves.
Maybe.
That would be funny. Well, if you want any other version of Tennessee athletics, it's all across the television today. So you can catch that. You can find that schedule online very easily with the SEC Network, and that will continue on through this evening. The last broadcast starts at 9 p.m. Central Time with the number 5 Tennessee versus number 6 Alabama men's basketball game.
So what's on right now? Let's see. It is 11:52 Eastern Time.
So that would be Tennessee and Auburn in the SEC
game.
tournament.
Yeah.
Which is a good one as well.
It's a good game.
So we are going to talk about, so how do you want to set up this next segment? Because I wasn't particularly moved by it when I saw the headline over the weekend, but you seem to think that there's a conversation here.
Yeah, Kirk Herbstreit was on a podcast, and he took a shot at an ESPN colleague of his for homerism in her broadcast work. It's an interesting conversation.
So the nature of the conversation is, do you care about homers being on your broadcast or viewing a broadcast that has homers on it? It doesn't have to be the Vol Network or Titans Radio or whatever you would consider to be a homer broadcast. But say you're, in this particular example, you turn on SportsCenter and the anchor on SportsCenter in that hour happens to be a fan of a certain program, and he or she is expressing that fandom publicly. Is that something that bothers you? We're going to talk about it next, because Kirk Herbstreit honestly had some pretty strong words about it. And given his background, I don't know if he's got a leg to stand on here. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
10:57. Good morning from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten streak to 15 games in all competitions Wednesday with a 5-2 win over DC United in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. Sam Surridge with 2 goals as Nashville stormed back from down 2-0. They move on to the U.S. Open Cup semifinal that will be played in September as they await the winner between New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia Union. This Saturday, Nashville will jump back into MLS regular season play with a trip to Inter Miami. In NBA news, Phoenix Suns star Devin Booker made history, agreeing to a 2-year, $145 million max extension through the 2029-2030 season. He now has the highest annual extension salary in NBA history. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Fans are how sports stay in business. They're the lifeblood of our industry, whether it's live games, whether it's you guys out there in the audience listening to crap like this for 3 hours a day. You're what keeps it going. We know this. We understand this. And it's impossible to ignore that some people working in sports may also have sports allegiances. Maybe they align with yours. Maybe they don't. Kirk Herbstreit oftentimes has a lot of great things to say about a lot of his colleagues at ESPN, but that wasn't necessarily so on a recent appearance on the Net Positive podcast with John Christ. I'm not familiar with the Net Positive podcast. I think John Christ he's a local comedian.
Yeah,
isn't
he is.
Okay. And Kirk obviously has lived in Nashville for quite some time, so perhaps they run in the same circles. Either way, so he's on the Net Positive podcast with John Christ. And he has talked about many times in many different settings, this is not the first time, where he's made it clear that he'll never openly cheer for his team, which is Ohio State, on national television. Because, of course, that would, he's going to get criticism for being an Ohio State homer, whether he shows favoritism to Ohio State or not. It's just like, Troy Aikman on Packers broadcast, where Packers fans hate Troy Aikman because of what he did to them when he was still a Cowboys quarterback, even though that's been many, many years ago. So this is his thoughts on showing fandom publicly. And we would agree, right, that it's never been more popular or more acceptable to openly be a fan of the team, whether you're covering that team or you're in broadcasting. Like, it seems to be publicly accepted now that people are going to be fans of their teams, even if they're journalists or whatever the case may be. Like, when I saw Mike Wilbon throw a first pitch out at a Cubs game in a jersey, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this now. Like, we're just going to, we're going to let everybody be fans of who they want to be public, and that's fine. Like, whatever.
We're keeping it with the Mikes. Mike Greenberg does this to the,
Stephen A.
most extreme. Yeah, Stephen A. too is a Knick fan.
Yeah, it's never been more commonplace, and I would argue more accepted, though I'm sure people have plenty of issues with if you're not a fan of those teams, or if you're a fan of a rival team, you probably don't like those people who express their public fandom that way. So this is Kirk Herbstreit's comments on the Net Positive podcast. It might be different if you're in the studio, but if you're calling games, and let's say you're an Alabama fan, and I'm calling an Ohio State-Alabama game, how the hell can you take what I say seriously if I'm saying we almost caught? I would never do that. I don't think you can cheer when you do games on a national level. And then he goes on to invoke Elle Duncan, who is a SportsCenter anchor. You watch SportsCenter, and Elle Duncan is sitting there cheering for Georgia. She's openly cheering. I'm not a fan of that personally. I think it hurts your credibility. No, that's not very soft criticism for Kirk Herbstreit. That's Kirk Herbstreit saying, I think it hurts your credibility. I don't like watching you on television.
I'm not a fan of that, yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. And he only mentions Elle Duncan in particular, when there are many other examples, many bigger examples than Elle Duncan, and it's no disrespect to Elle Duncan. She's obviously somebody who's been working in sports for a long time. She's very publicly a Georgia fan. I believe she's a Falcons fan. Like, she's from Atlanta. She roots for Atlanta teams. Okay, that's all well and good. But I don't know.
She hit back and posted, didn't have this on my bingo card for today, but my fandom doesn't impact in any way what or how we talk about teams on air, ever. I just bark, ? She says, also, whispers, I'm not the only one, so why do I get singled out?
I think the barking does it.
He also prefaces it with, like acknowledging that studio hosts are different than play-by-play, and then goes on to criticize the studio host for showing her fandom. I love Kirk, by the way.
Oh, no, he's the best.
Kirk is the man. He's the best at what he does in college football. He's crushing Thursday Night Football with Al Michaels, and I've never once, ever thought that Kirk sounded like an Ohio State homer while calling an Ohio State game.
Didn't he cry?
He got emotional when they won the national championship, off the air, right? Isn't it just images of him on the field?
No, I think they went to him in the booth and he was getting choked up.
I can't remember the exact scenario.
I can probably find it. But I think, and that was within the last season. So for him to have a moment like that, very publicly, Robert.
Yeah, so on ESPN College Football's YouTube page, they have a 9-minute clip of it, and rather than play it all for you, the description says Kirk Herbstreit gets emotional discussing Ohio State's championship win, highlighting their resilience and the importance of NIL and keeping key players.
So he gets through the season, and he doesn't break character all throughout the season, but at the end of it, when his team wins the national championship, he gets emotional.
Okay, it was with Scott Van Pelt afterwards. So after the
they're
game,
doing the post-game wrap-up thing.
In fact, I just sent Robert, a 39-second clip that I just sent in that we could play.
Okay.
It's Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler from the booth joining SVP after Ohio State won the national championship, beating Notre Dame 34-23.
So is that not the exact... In fact, that's a better example than what he's just cited with Elle Duncan. Even if it's not in the middle of a game, he's still in the broadcast booth after having done the game. And I get, I'm not mad at Kirk Herbstreit because he got emotional when Ohio State won the national championship. I just think that it's a weird position to take when you have that most recently on your resume from the last college football game that you've done this year or this college football season, and then to go with the very person that you're saying, yeah, it's not a big deal if a studio host does it. Oh, I can't watch Elle Duncan on SportsCenter because she's a Georgia fan. What?
Do we have Kirk after the game?
Well, what point would you like to make first?
Didn't we do this in the basketball season with the Florida student reporter who was covering the team?
Oh, yeah.
So,
that was the worst extreme of that. People trying to hardcore Jay Journo that on social media. She's a student. Get out of here.
Okay, and that's my point, is that there is a difference there, right? Where it's a student, you go to school there, you are covering them, versus being an analyst or someone that is talking about these teams in a professional format. Yeah. That's the only difference I want to
do. Do we want to hear the audio of Kirk Herbstreit with Scott Van Pelt?
I can find it. Give me 1 second.
I sent it in.
It's in the Twitter group. Lucas sent it in. So, I don't know. This is something that I feel like is from a time gone by. If I'm going to sit up here and do the big Jay Journo thing and be like, well, no, you can't publicly root for a team. You can't have any kind of fandom allegiance working in sports media because it's just not realistic anymore. There are people who cover teams who are either fans of those teams or formerly fans of those teams, and maybe they've renounced their fandom because that's what they do as a job now. The best example of this, as somebody who I have a lot of respect for and does a great job, name the biggest Titans fan who works in Titans media.
Oh, that works in Titans media.
Locally? I bet you'll never guess.
Jimmy.
I would. Jimmy obviously works for the team, so Jimmy is now a Titans fan. But I don't think. I think that this person
Jimmy's always covered the team as the
top 1% of Big J journalists,
objective reporter.
They hired him because he was too good at their job, and he was on the forefront of that NFL unhappiness with the Titans ownership group at the time, which is when they said, "All right, enough of this."
What are you going to say?
Nick Suss. Nick Sess grew up a Titans fan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's what I'm saying. You would never, ever, ever know. The only reason that I know is because Nick and I have talked about this. And Nick is as good. In fact, I would argue he's one of the better ones. He's a more recent addition of Titans media. Nick Sess, if you don't know, he's at the Tennessean.
He's excellent.
He's their latest beat writer. He is excellent. Excellent at what he does. And I would almost argue that the historical context he has from being a fan of the team helps give him better background as somebody who was most recently covering the SEC. He was in Ole Miss and covering Ole Miss athletics prior to joining the Tennessean and taking on the Titans beat. Since he has gotten here, I think Nick is one of the best ones doing it.
We people in this business take themselves so seriously. Like, it is an old school thing, I think, to say, well, once you get into the media, like you turn in your fan card. Like, to me, I have never once cared about a host or a broadcaster or a whoever making clear who their team was when they grew up, who they support, as long as it doesn't affect their work. Of course, what Kirk is saying is correct. If you're an Alabama fan doing an Ohio State game on a national broadcast, Alabama versus Ohio State, you can't say we. Of course you can't do that. And Kirk doesn't do that. And I think 99.9% of national network broadcasters call it as down the middle as possible. People griped for years about Gary Danielson and the bias, but problem was he was biased towards everyone. He was biased towards Florida because he went there. He was biased towards Bama when he did Bama games. He was biased towards, he was biased towards Bama because he was just glowing about Alabama because they're the best damn program we've ever seen ever in our lives. That always, even as a Tennessee fan, drove me nuts. Like, I always thought Gary Danielson, I never had an issue.
Never.
With Gary. I never saw it. People were upset about him constantly praising Bama. There was so much to praise. And I hated that was the fact, but it was just the case with Alabama. So if it doesn't infiltrate your work in a live broadcast, then who cares? Like, they're human. I want my sports media people to also be sports fans, right? Like, that makes it way worse to me if a sports media person is a neutral robot that never had any allegiances and doesn't have the same passions that all of your listeners and viewers have.
Now, people, and, having been in the Titans press box and press boxes around the NFL for the past 9 years, like, there are people, regardless of what market you're in, and it happens here in Nashville, there are people who would, and I wouldn't say that they cover the team for any major outlet or anything like that, because those people are professionals, but there are people who get opportunities to cover a team or get a single game like credential or something like that, and maybe you're just trying to break in and you've got your own blog or your own website, whatever the case may be, and I've seen those people cheer in a press box, and I hate that. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
It's like that, and it's not specific to the Titans. It's when Browns media does it, or Bears, or whatever the case may be. Like, this is not for fans. Get out of here. You can be a sports fan and still be able to conduct yourself professionally while you are in a professional place of business. I remember Keith Bullock coming up into the press box one time and being like, man, it sucks up here. Y'all don't cheer, you don't talk.
It's stuffy, it's quiet.
That's what it's supposed to be, though. We're doing a job. Like, when you're there doing a job, you're on the clock. Your opinion is supposed to be unbiased and objective and well thought out and thorough in what it is that you're doing, and not influenced one way or the other by the fact that you may have cheered for that team at one point in your life, or you currently cheer for that team as a fan. That is not the place for it. If you want to go to a game on your time and pay to have a ticket and sit in the stands with the rest of them, I'm good with that. It's when those people make their way into the press box and then try to prop themselves up after the fact that, nobody cares but media people, so it's a soapbox that it's not going to be a popular opinion, because I'm sure most fans are like, well, who cares about that? We cheer. Why shouldn't you cheer? But that's not what that is supposed to be for. It's not what it should be for, and I hate when I see it.
But I don't care when Elle Duncan, while hosting Sports Center, gives a little quip about Georgia.
If she's happy on Sports Center and they won the national, she's doing the Sports Center after they win the Natty. Who gives a damn?
To me, it just makes her relatable. Like, yeah, she's a fan just like we are, and then she can carry on and do her job like normal. So, yeah, people pearl clutch about this stuff. I could not care less. I would prefer that I know that the people I follow in sports media are also human sports fans like me, as long as it doesn't overwhelmingly impact their work.
Do you know where it is acceptable to be a fan of the team you are covering?
International sports.
Is that a thing?
Team radio calls.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
because that is for the fans.
Yes.
That is, those fans are listening to you. Like when I'm driving and I unfortunately can't get like the Ravens call. And I remember last preseason, I was listening to the preseason game between the Eagles and the Ravens. And I had to listen to the Eagles call with Ross Tucker. And I hated it because all Ross Tucker is doing is slobbing all over Nick Sirianni. Oh, this is going to be such a good team. Oh, they're talking about how good they look in preseason. But it's not for me. It's for Eagles fans. So, like, that place is another place where it's like, oh, they're just a big homer. Well, that's kind of their job, is to cover it from that sphere for the fan.
But you know what? And I'll just do the third-party thing here. That's why I have so much respect for Mike Keith when he was doing Titans radio, and why I think he'll crush it with the Vols, because I can listen to Titans radio, not be a Titans fan, and think that Mike Keith does an excellent job delivering the information while still I know who Mike is catering to.
Right.
I know who all the big moments or when he gets up, he's trying to get Titans fans up with him, like all these different things. But the Titans radio broadcast when Mike Keith was doing it was so excellent at not veering so hard to extremes one way or the other, even though I know that they are all actively invested in a Titans win. I don't get that from Mac. I don't get that from Mike.
Yeah.
I've never, and that's why I think Titans radio, when Mike Keith was doing it, was the best in the league by a mile, because not only is the quality exceptional and the production value exceptional, but because it can be listened to and enjoyed by anybody.
But the best team broadcasters, you know who they are there for, but there can also be an element of giving. Like, you're, again, covering professional athletes doing incredible things.
Yeah.
So if you're playing against the Eagles and Saquon Barkley rips off a 70-yard touchdown, if you're the opponent broadcaster, it's okay to call it with some excitement, because that's an incredible human doing an incredible
Barkley
thing.
is sick.
For respect for the opponent. Like, that's also why I love international sports, whether it's Olympics or the World Cup. Like, that's also another thing where even on network television, the broadcast of the USA basketball gold medal match can be skewed U.S., the American broadcast, because everybody watching it is American. The broadcasters are American. Why even pretend to play it down the middle? I like that. It's where it's acceptable. But you can also get up for having respect for an opponent doing something great. Like when we did the Switzerland-U.S. game on Westwood One. Okay, obviously, we're somewhat skewed towards the U.S.
Oh, look at him citing himself as the utmost source of professionalism. You see how slick he tried to be with that?
You can find me.
Look at... Fine him right now. That is such a finable offense. Robert's busy doing something.
But we also had to give respect to the opponent, because Switzerland was dicing up the U.S. and they were scoring bangers, and it was just a class above what the U.S. were doing. That's why I hate listening the Georgia Bulldogs radio broadcast.
Oh,
not to call them out, but like,
no, that's okay.
It is the most extreme example of fans on the air. We could pull up the Hail Mary right now and listen.
Oh, the Dobbs thing? We've done it.
We have. We've played that audio.
We did it with Dobbs.
I was just like, oh, man, they caught it. I can't believe they caught it.
No, Robert and I were Robert was watching Ravens 2012 Super Bowl run highlights the other day in the production room, because he's a Ravens fan and he's thirsty for football. And it's the Jacoby Jones.
It was the Broncos radio call.
It's the Broncos radio call, but it's an NFL Films, like you're watching it, but with the Broncos radio call highlights in the background of, I think it's a third down. Joe Flacco steps up in the pocket, launches it to Jacoby Jones, busted coverage on the back end for Denver, and Jacoby Jones scores a tying touchdown that sends them to overtime before Peyton Manning throws a pick, and the game is over. The call of the Jacoby Jones reception, you'd have thought he dropped it, or you'd have thought it was an incompletion.
It's terrible.
Like nothing happened. But it's those have a place too, though, Lucas, because if you are an opposing fan or just objective, like I died laughing. at how miserable they were. That's funny to me. Because, you homers, eat it.
I know, but still.
I do. You hear it real quick?
Yes.
Yeah, do you have it?
Obviously with the no huddle, same formation, 2 receivers on each side, 3rd down and 3. Snap to Flacco, bounces around. He steps up in the pocket, throws a deep ball right side. The receiver is there, makes the catch, and is going to score. That is unbelievable That catch by Torrey Smith, and the
Jacoby
Ravens
Jones.
are a point away from tying this game with 31 seconds to go.
So he got the player wrong. He didn't meet the moment, obviously, because that was a huge point in the game.
It sounded like an 8-yard completion.
That is
They're down 7 with like 40 seconds left in the game.
And Flacco's like about to get sacked. It's as mobile as Joe's ever looked in his life, the way that he stepped up in the pocket and then just rocket launched.
That's radio call. That doesn't describe the play to the audience. The play, whether it happened against you or not, was an exciting play. You can convey the fact that it was a big play without being happy about it. But if I'm listening to that, I'm like, wait, was that a touchdown? Because it didn't sound like a touchdown.
So I guess to kind of put a bow on it, because we've talked about this too long, and we're going to get the coaches on the hot seat here in just a second. NFL coaches on the hot seat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll get to NFL coaches on the hot seat here in just a second. I think all of these things have a place. I just think it's weird to start cherry picking where you call them out. Because I think that's what Herb Street was doing there, and maybe he didn't intend to. And I'm sure he has some level of regret. He seems like a decent human being, right? I don't think anybody who's been in contact with Kirk Herbstreit's like, yeah, that guy's a jerk.
Everybody likes Herbie.
Right. So, I don't think that he probably just had an offhand comment in a moment and maybe didn't remember that he said, yeah, if you're a studio host, it's fine. But that Al Duncan on SportsCenter, she's a Georgia fan, and I think it hurts your credibility. I think he got caught up in the air a little bit.
We're all human, unless you're Buck. And you're just in it for the clout.
It's working swimmingly for me. Coaches on the hot seat, next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie Bees hot chicken. I'm told it's just about time for round 2. Robert has been lusting after another one of these Southern smash-up burgers with Joyland and Hattie Bees. Nashville Burger Week ongoing. The wonderful people at Hattie Bees were kind enough to bring us 2 giant bags from Joyland, which is where you can get the burger, that have Hattie Bees, pimento cheese, bacon-infused pimento cheese, hot chicken pickles, coleslaw, and the Joyland burger, the standard Joyland burger, which is excellent. I haven't had the crust burger there, but I hear that's good too.
The real question is, do we give Ross one?
No.
Ross showed up.
Why? All right, make your case. Why do you deserve a free cheeseburger when you've done absolutely nothing to contribute to the show today?
I don't. He's not back here.
That's it. I thought that was
You thought
Ross.
it was him?
Yeah, I thought that was Ross.
Really?
I was.
That was
No,
you
he's
doing.
not, he's not back here. No.
I'm
That's
looking
incredible.
at you. Lucas can't see you, so I knew it was you, but like it sounded pretty damn close.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mouth breather.
Give me one of those burgers.
Ross deserves a burger.
Nobody has ever sounded more like a smoker without actually smoking than Ross. I just. Anyway, thank you. Speaking of things that are smoking, whose butt is smoking on the hot seat this coming football season? Maybe there's a better way to do this. Who's actually on the hot seat versus who should be on the hot seat? Because I think that there are 2 different discussions to be had there outside of your standard. All right, this coach is struggling. This coach is coming off a bad season. This coach is probably going to get fired.
Well, it doesn't feel like we have a. I mean, is there a
Mike McDaniel?
Well, sure, Mike McDaniel. It's warm, but in that discussion of the most pre-fired coach in America, I don't know that there is one.
Brian Daboll.
Brian Daboll is the closest thing to it, for sure. But again, like there's a way out for Brian Daboll. It feels
Is there?
like. If Jackson Dart plays this year at some point and shows something, I feel like there is a path forward for Brian Daboll, who I still consider to be a good coach. Like, I don't think any of the Giants' biggest issues have been Brian Daboll's fault over the last couple of years.
He's the leading candidate, according to BetMGM, to be the first fired.
Who's the second?
Zach Taylor.
Oh, interesting.
It's been a couple of years since they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
And, it's not his side of the ball that's having the issues, but he's not going to get credit for that. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are.
And so that's a lot on Al Golden this year to fix that defense.
That's crazy that he's the defensive coordinator in Cincinnati.
Notre Dame defensive coordinator hired up to Cincinnati to replace Lou Anarumo, who's now in the AFC South with Indianapolis. And he's in charge of turning around a defense that still doesn't have its best player locked down in Trey Hendrickson.
And still doesn't have his first-round pick.
The first-round pick that was potentially going to replace the best player also has not signed anything. So everything is fine.
I think that Daboll, do you know what Daboll's record is in 3 seasons with Giants?
Bad.
18-32.
Yeah.
At a certain point, like, who the hell is allowed to go 18-32 and keep their job?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like if they go 5-12.
It may not all be his fault, but he was at least a part of the reason why they kept Daniel Jones. Now, I don't know how much say he had in Saquon moving on, right? That, at least as far as I know, that never made it onto the HBO offseason Hard Knocks part of it. It was mostly just about Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen looks like the clown publicly, even if it's not all Joe Schoen's fault, right? There's in any result, whether it's on a football field or in the offseason or in any sport, in any scenario in life, it's never as bad as it seems, and it's probably never as good as it seems, right? The answer is somewhere in the middle. We will never know truly who is most responsible for the Giants sucking, although it's easy to point the finger at Joe Schoen because of the number of transactions, personnel decisions that have been made that have led to a bad roster. Their offensive line is terrible outside of Andrew Thomas. That does not expect to get better in 2025. The only thing, I would argue, honestly, though, that the Giants have a more elite side of the ball, a better chance at being special on one side of the ball than the Titans do.
On defense?
Oh, my God.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter if you're inept offensively and if you're riding your hopes on Russell Wilson.
But at least you have something to work off there is my point.
Sure. That's the thing. It's like if you're New York, you've got a solid defense. Like we talked about their pass rushing core, that trio. Of
Lucas, if you made me guess, I bet they're a top 10 defense by the end of the year.
Shane Bowen.
Not just because, not because of Shane.
No, but I'm saying like he's still calling the plays, right?
Shane's still the defensive coordinator, but it's if they are a top 10 defense, it's because they're mauling teams.
Yeah.
It's because it's going to be a rock fight against the Giants. Dexter Lawrence is the best defensive tackle in football, and they have surrounded him with fire-breathing dragons.
Yeah, but we just, in this day and age, it's just not enough to keep a team in contention. We saw it with the Jets.
No, I don't mean in contention, but like if the Giants end up as a miserable football team with a top 10 defense, I would not be surprised.
No, we've talked about their pass rushing core. Thibodeau, Burns, and Abdul Carter, any one of those three guys would immediately be the best edge rusher on the Titans roster.
What's the biggest difference between Brian Daboll and Brian Callahan? Daboll has a longer history of failure here.
Yeah, but he also, between the two, he is the one with some sort of sample size of success of getting to the playoffs and maximizing a player like Daniel Jones. But yeah, the results have built up year over year and way heavier on Brian Daboll than Brian Callahan. And the upside feels higher with Callahan in his quarterback situation than Daboll's quarterback situation.
Feels, but we have we don't know. No guarantee.
But Brian Callahan has the consensus best quarterback of the draft. Brian Daboll has a potentially overdrafted player that is behind Russell Wilson, who is going to be the starter for them at the beginning of the year.
Because by your logic, if Russell Wilson, who is expected to be the starter at the beginning of the year, is who they choose to go with, and then they make the change.
Which seems to be the case. Like there's been nothing to indicate.
There's nothing to indicate that Russell Wilson is not the starter for the Giants.
If he's healthy, Russ is starting.
So if that's Daboll's decision, and then they put in, I'm blanking on his name, Ole Miss quarterback. Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
If they put in Jackson Dart later, because they struggled early and they've cost themselves critical opportunities, and Jackson Dart does the Will Levis thing, right? He comes out, it's his first game, and he's brilliant. Or at least, the defense that he's playing is bad enough that he looks brilliant. Doesn't that strengthen the case to fire Daboll? And what are you doing sitting on this kid? Why didn't you play him from the start? He could have been much better by now. Like, I think in the way that you think it buys him time, I honestly think it hurts him.
No, the Giants season is setting up so much to where it's
a bad situation.
It's going to be just people on top of him. Like, God, play the kid, please. Like, how many miserable Russell Wilson game performances do Giants fans have to be subject to before they're begging to see the first round pick? Imagine
if Russ, on a worse roster, does the thing that he finished his career in Pittsburgh with. He lost 5 straight games as a starting quarter. If New York goes 0-5, have you looked at the Giants schedule? Giants schedule is hell. Like, I know the Titans have a first 6 weeks that is not, nothing to turn your nose up at as far as its level of competitiveness. But New York's schedule sucks.
No, it's so hard to imagine Russ even just being able to stabilize it there, man. Like, he was able to do that when he came back from injury last year in Pittsburgh with, a relatively easier part of the schedule and one of the most stable, competent organizations in the NFL with a solid offensive line, with weapons on the outside. It's a really hard time seeing him stabilizing a Giants offense that has, who's their number one running back?
It would be between Tyrone Tracy.
That's right. And Singletary.
And Singletary, correct.
And they've got Cam Scatterbo in there, and he could be fun, and we'll see. But outside of Malik Neighbors, it's hard to really get up for anything about the Giants offense. And the offensive line situation is markedly worse.
The Giants have one game that would be considered easy by anybody just looking ahead at schedules. Basically in their first 2 months, Lucas, at Washington, at Dallas, home for Kansas City and the Chargers. At New Orleans is the first time that you think they might be in a game that they would be favored in. But again, they're on the road in New Orleans, and that's not an easy place to play, no matter how down bad they are. Then after that, home Philly, at Denver, at Philly, home San Fran, at Chicago, home Green Bay, at Detroit, at New England. Their schedule sucks before their Week 14 bye.
And it's an owner that has publicly said patience is running thin. So Brian Daboll has the hottest seat. He's got the toughest situation to dig out of, and as a publicly impatient owner. So yes, he is at the top of this list. And then you mentioned Mike McDaniel. Are you looking at the odds still? Where does Brian Callahan rank?
I've just got Hang on, I don't have a full odds board here. I've just got the top 3.
So he's not in the top 3.
He's not in the top 3.
Who is, other than, you said Zach Taylor's number 2? Who's number 3?
It is Dave Canales.
Okay.
With the Panthers. And I think that's just because you can't trust Tepper.
Yeah, that's a fair one, too.
Which would be the case for Callahan. You can't trust Amy.
Yeah, that's a fair one,
maybe you can now, but there's no reason to believe that you could.
Yeah, and Callahan behind those guys, because all of those guys are Canales is going into year, I guess he's going into year 2 or 3.
Yeah, this is just his second year.
Yeah, he's
that was
the same
his first
timeline.
year?
Yes.
Same timeline as Callahan.
Honestly, he deserves a ton of credit for how much that football team turned around. I know they were bad still, but I mean,
100%. To be able to revive your quarterback and have him give you or play meaningful football for you, win some games. I mean, the last game of their season, they were given who the hell were they playing? Gave them a run for their money.
They had it was moral victory back half of the season for the Panthers, right?
100%.
Played the Chiefs to the end, the Eagles to the end. Was it the Commanders at the end of the year that they played tough, but they were in a bunch of those games.
All right, I've got a full list. Sportsbetting.ag, which is an offshore book. Dayball 4-1 is the favorite. Mike McDaniel. Then they have Shane Steichen, Kevin Stefanski, Jonathan Gannon in Arizona, Zach Taylor, and Dave Canales, all before Brian Callahan at 10-1.
Wow. It's interesting because Callahan...
Jonathan Gannon shouldn't be fired. If anybody should be fired, it's Kyler Murray.
It's tough to say that. If he can't break through this year, not make the playoffs.
That football team was 8-9 last year. They had no business being.
They probably got to make the playoffs this year.
Yeah. They
in
can't.
That division?
It's hard if they just remain stagnant.
They didn't cut him loose. They let him build draft picks. They are draft classes. Like I think they're a good team too. But
if Monty Ossenfort fires Jonathan Gannon, I think Monty needs to look.
Well, don't just say that blanket statement before we see what happens this season. If they go 4-13. Then, yeah, Jonathan Gannon's probably at the end of his rope.
But if you were getting rid of Kyler Murray, I think you would also be getting rid of Jonathan Gannon. Like, Jonathan Gannon can go and Kyler can stay, but if Kyler goes, Gannon also goes.
You think?
I would just roll the dice like that. If you're going to add a new head coach with that core, I would want him to pick our next quarterback.
It just makes no sense to do all the legwork that they've done for his defense and then fire him.
I don't disagree with you.
It's interesting that Callahan is so low on that list.
Do you know a name on this list?
I don't know why. I mean, he honestly... He should be second on this list.
Second over Zach Taylor?
Yes. Lucas. It was awful last year. They had no answers. There was some conversation, how real it got internally about bringing him back or not. There was at least a conversation had. And if he is tasked with a number 1 overall pick at quarterback and it doesn't go almost exactly to plan or at least as close to what they think it should look like with a general manager that did not hire him, what's going to stop her from looking around and being like, I'm doing this based on the uncertainty of Amy Adams-Strunk?
Yeah, that's the wild card in all of this. But
which, with 3 consecutive off seasons of firing somebody based on record on a football team that does not expect to have a winning, or maybe they expect to have a winning record, but nobody else expects them to.
But again, if they finish the season with a Panthers-like feel from last year, where the wins aren't necessarily there, and 5, which is what the Panthers had last year, might be too low. But if the wins aren't necessarily there, but you're feeling good about what you have at quarterback by the end of the year and the trajectory that you're on, I'd be surprised if he's let go. To me, Brian Callahan being let go would mean Cam Ward looks like he's drowning in his rookie year, and the things that held them back last year aren't seeing much substantial improvement, which is absolutely possible.
Sure, but I'm saying as far as odds go, based on the track record here, he should be higher on this list. I'm not saying he deserves, because he's bad or whatever the case may be, to be higher on this list.
I get what you're saying.
Based on the organization that he plays for, he needs to be higher than 10th on this list.
I think the guy that needs to be higher is Shane Steichen.
Well, if for no other reason than the owner died.
And
that's been the life raft that Chris Ballard, respectfully, that's been the life raft that Chris Ballard has been clinging to for 9 years.
You know what would not surprise me if it happened? If you got a 1-year tenure out of Brian Schottenheimer. Doesn't that kind of feel like the Gerard Mayo?
But that's the least Jerry Jones thing in the world to do.
No, I agree with you, but the way they hired him, right? We're going to stick with Mike. Actually, we're going to let Mike go.
Him giving the press conference, the introductory press conference, pointing at Brian Schottenheimer and saying, this is the biggest professional risk I've ever taken.
Right, but he didn't get to his pick of the litter.
Crazy.
He didn't get to pick from the coaching carousel because they fired him so late in the process. So, like, it would not surprise me to see him get cut loose if they fail to reach expectations, and then Jerry gets a fresh crack at it with a full purview of what the coaching hires could potentially look like.
Yeah, he could Gerard Mayo him.
I just think Jerry's in a situation of his own making because they waited way too long to make a decision. That's how the Titans ended up with what's the special teams coach name? Fossil. They let the head coach, just kind of expire, and then they let the assistant coach's contracts expire all around him, and all of a sudden Dallas is out not just a head coach, but the entire coaching staff gets to walk and go where they please. I mean, it would require Jerry to have some self-awareness there, so maybe that's not the biggest thing that you can bank on. But I don't think I think Brian Callahan needs to stay through this year and arguably next because they drafted a quarterback number 1 overall. And they hired an offensive-minded head coach under the premise of bringing this thing into the new generation.
Patience
but I
over
don't
panic.
trust them to do that. There's no reason to. Zero reason. And I'm surprised that, and even if it's one offshore book, I'm surprised that they're getting the benefit of the doubt there. 615-737-1045 is the number. If you want to jump in, we'll take your phone calls. We'll take a look at the AFC West as a division, the most interesting storylines there. The Titans play that entire division, so there's some to pick from. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie Bees Hot Chicken. Now, lucky for the rest of the station, we are generous. Well, Hattie Bees is generous because Zach Lyons came in here knowing full well what he was doing, sniffing around and said, those burgers sure do smell good. Robert, you're running out of inventory.
How many we got left?
I
feel like a squirrel at the end of winter.
There's
counting
only
my nuts.
one in this Joyland, this delightfully colored. This is a very nice looking bag that Joyland has, which is who is doing the Hattie Bees collaboration for Nashville Burger Week. There's only one left in this bag in front of me, though there is a second bag that's further out of my reach. So I cannot tell you how many are left. All I know is there is one within my sight line.
I will do the inspecting.
615-737-1045 is the number. Let's get to the phones at Robert's convenience. We'll do that here in just a second. We're also going to take a look at the most interesting thing in each NFL division. We only have a few left, even though we did the NFC West twice and nobody told us. Bad job out of us. Do you have anything to tell people about first before we go to the phones?
Yeah. What we just came back with is my favorite Kendrick song.
Not where 3HL is going to be next week and who it's sponsored by?
Oh, there'll be at Media Days. It's sponsored by Bryan Motorsports and Medical House Calls.
Thank you. Well, here he comes, the Hamburglar. He's back.
There are three.
There are three there. That makes four. Take that one.
Take it.
All right.
Oh,
He took two. No, he's giving one to Lucas just in case. The two of you are going to have diabetes by the time we walk out here.
Together in the nursing home.
Wilford Brimley style.
Whatever it takes to get that mustache.
Yeah, let's go to Tommy up first. Hey, Tommy.
Hello, Buck. Buck, I think the Titans have a problem regardless of what happens this year with Callahan, because if they fire him, then don't you think the talent pool for coaches that would want to come in here and take the head coaching position would dwindle? Because you know head coaches, when they're going to take a job, they get a gentleman's agreement that I'm going to need at least 3 years to turn this around. And for them to only give him 2 and then think they can just go out and hire whoever, I think it's going to be a problem. I'll hang up and listen. Thanks.
I appreciate the call, Tommy. So that was our general concern with the GM job, right? Especially with the lack of clarity, at least at the time, on, all right, well, you're going to hire a GM, but Chad Brinker's going to have final roster say, how appealing is this job going to be? And then the best general manager candidate,
yeah.
Arguably on the market. We'll see how it plays out. We have no idea. But at least in theory, they got the best GM candidate.
Yeah, they got the big fish is kind of how, and I will say I don't think there is any such gentleman's agreement. Right.
Well, I mean, I think you are assuming that you're going to get at least a little room to breathe. But that timeline has never been shorter.
Yep, in both college football and the NFL.
Yeah, and
you get a contract. Like, again, if you get fired after a year, that's what the money's for. Like, you get that money.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's a thing where it's like, don't worry, no matter what happens, we won't fire you within 3 years of this.
So,
circumstances
we'll pay you, but we'll definitely fire you.
Yeah, that's what the contract's for.
So, it does make sense what you're saying. Now, how much longer can you do that? Because, again, this has been 3 straight off seasons where they fired somebody. They fired 2 GMs and a head coach in the last 3 years. If they go 4 straight with 2 head coaches and 2 general managers, people are going to start looking around and be like, do I actually want to take that job? Now, will somebody take that job? Of course they will, because it's an NFL job and there's only 32 of them. And especially, more so even if you're a general manager, I think, Lucas, than a head coach, because head coaches do get retread. GMs, like, who's a fired GM that got another job? Because
it doesn't happen.
J-Rob is an extreme example where he's been straight up out of the sport, and guys will go and work again in front offices or in some advisory.
No, it doesn't happen.
GMs do not get rehired.
They don't get really second chances, which is interesting.
There have been some. There are examples, but they are very few and far between as opposed to coaches.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. But if Brian Callahan is let go, it would have to be a very extreme poor performance from him and his staff this year for the Titans to, and no matter what, there would be a lot of, oh, here we go. Nope, same old Titans, just no stability.
And you know what? I don't even think it would have to be something so egregious, Lucas, beyond them just being bad at football. Like something would have had to happen, like an external circumstance that would
but
cause them.
Let's say for argument's sake, I mentioned the Carolina Panthers type of season that the Panthers had last year.
Yeah.
They were terrible early on, and Bryce Young's benched, and then he comes back in. And then they get kind of hot, and they push some teams, and they end up winning 5 games. But you feel at the end of the year, it's like, okay, we might.
Panthers fans have more reason to be optimistic.
Yes, there's optimism.
Yes.
So let's say the Titans have a similar season to the Panthers, but with 6 wins.
If they win 5 games or 6 games,
6 wins.
it depends on what those 6 games are. Honestly.
Right. It does. Context is everything.
And one win shouldn't make a difference, but like in my head, if he wins 5 games with a rookie quarterback and as the number 1 overall pick, and they could look, markedly improved. They could play a lot more 1-score games, right? That's the thing that was so awful about them last year is how often they were just getting run. I mean, 7 losses by double digits is insane in the NFL. Insane.
But, again, going back to Brian Callahan's previous stop, and it is apples and oranges, Bengals to Titans. But Zach Taylor, 2-14 year 1, 4-11 year 2. In many, many situations, 6 wins your first 2 years. Like, all right, but this doesn't seem like it's happening. But you have Joe Burrow. And he tore his ACL, and there's so much context around it, and you have a top 5 pick, and you continue building. Next thing you know, they're in the Super Bowl. If you end up with 5 to 6 wins, and you're feeling really good about what you have at quarterback, and you say, okay, we went 5-12 because of the limitations that we already knew were there across the roster. Let's keep building this thing. But instead, you fire the coach because it's just not enough wins. Then you don't escape the same old unstable Titans allegations. If it's a true bottoming out and things continue to go backwards, then it's probably something that people would understand.
How could they go backwards? I mean, and they always could, right? They could win 1 game as opposed to 3, I guess. But I
think the Titans are in a spot where, like, if you want, because I think that's the thing. Like, I know it's 1 of 32, and there's always going to be someone to take the job. But when there are multiple candidates out there, like Ben Johnson had the luxury of saying, I don't want that job. I don't want that job. Like, that is a thing as a franchise to be less attractive to the best candidates. So if it goes that way this year, 5-6 wins and optimism from the quarterback, all right, let's keep building. We might have something here. And they pull the rug out and fire Callahan. You're going to be the least attractive franchise to any of the best candidates. You just are. So I think the caller has a point.
No, the quarterback. Now,
that's true. The quarterback matters.
Quarterback will gloss over because that's if they get that right. I have no idea whether Cam Ward is going to be the right quarterback for this franchise. I just know that there is fact-based reasoning for optimism. That's all I've got. That's all I've got in Cam Ward right now. If I'm a Titans fan, there is legitimate reason to think that a successful college quarterback, a Heisman Trophy finalist, the consensus number 1 overall pick in this year's draft would be good enough to make you an attractive landing spot. Quarterback matters more than just about anything. And Matt, I would argue it matters more than good ownership, even if you can't trust ownership. So we will see how this plays itself out. And Cam Ward may keep the Titans as a reasonably attractive job should something happen there. But, of course, that's all way, way premature. Let's go to Chris in California next.
Hey, gentlemen. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good.
I just two-part question here.
Well, pick your favorite. Pick your favorite one of the 2 parts because we're running out of time.
No, if he gets it under 60.
How long does a rebuild take?
I don't know.
How long? Guesstimate with me.
2.5.
2.5 years? Okay, so it wouldn't make sense to me that we'd be cutting coaches or firing coaches or trying to get new blood in on the coaching staff if you don't let that cycle finish. I mean, that's like the Browns' favorite thing to do. I don't really want to start being the Browns. If we've got to sit in some mud for a little bit longer to get some consistency, I'm all for it. But I just feel like if you're calling it a rebuild, you got to let the rebuild flush out before you cut it short.
Sure, but they fired the GM in less time than that, the most recent GM. And there was plenty of good reasons to do that, but I'm just saying, like, they just did that.
Well, look at who we have now. I mean, isn't he a former Kansas City guy?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the best front offices in the business last time I checked. I mean, I would imagine somebody like that coming in here adds some stability, and hopefully he'll be around here for 3, 4, 5 years.
Maybe, but if the owner doesn't like the record at the end of the year, she's going to put it in a statement. She's going to fire people.
Yeah, you got that, Buck. Can't trust those owners. You got it, man.
Thank you for the call, Chris. I mean, Like, I wish it wasn't so cut and dry on that, but that's just what it is.
There's been reason to fire everybody that's been fired. It does lead to that look of an unstable organization. But I understand the reputation of firing people left and right willy-nilly, but there are things to back up everyone that has been fired here, I will say.
All right. Final hour coming up next. We're going to talk about the 2025 offensive line rankings according to Pro Football Focus. There may be reason for optimism if you're a Titans fan. That's a rare enough thing. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone. Introducing Premier Generators, now in Nashville, the largest certified Generac dealer in Tennessee. They are here to help you when power outages strike. Make sure you're protecting your family with a top-tier generator, expertly installed by local specialists. Premier Generators dedicates itself solely to generators, offering unmatched expertise. Plus, enjoy peace of mind with an extended 10-year warranty. So don't wait for the next storm. There's plenty of them here in Middle Tennessee of late. No matter what the season is, make sure you're thinking ahead. Make sure to schedule your consultation today. Visit premiergenerators.com or call them at 1-855-797-4766. That's 1-855-797-4766. Be prepared and choose Premier Generators for reliable power solutions.
It is 12:02. Good afternoon from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Lucas Panzica. Nashville Soccer Club extended its unbeaten run to 15 games in all competitions Wednesday with a 5-2 win over DC United in the U.S. Open Cup quarterfinal. Sam Surridge, 2 goals. Nashville stormed back from down 2-0. They moved on to the U.S. Open Cup semifinal, which will be played in September. They will await the winner between New York Red Bulls and Philadelphia Union. Meanwhile, this Saturday, Nashville jumps back into MLS regular season play with a trip to Inter Miami. In NBA news, Phoenix Suns star Devin Booker has agreed to a 2-year, $145 million max extension. It is the highest annual extension salary in NBA history at over $72 million per year. For all your foundation repairs and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Hadn't been a lot of optimism in the last couple of years about the Titans' offensive line. Now, that seems, at least in the early going, to have started to take a turn for the better. Now, the Titans' offensive line is one of those things where you look around after the last couple of years and you say, well, surely to God, it can't get worse, and then it gets worse. And then you go through another season and they sign Andre Dillard and you say, oh, surely. It's a former first-round pick. Maybe they know something we don't. Maybe they can have some level of impact on this young man who's still early in his career, talented enough. He was drafted by the Eagles, for God's sake. Surely there's something there. And then it gets even worse. Last year, you figured out a viable enough left tackle solution, but then your right side caved in because Nicholas Petit-Frere is barely an NFL football player at this point in his career. And last I checked, was still not on an NFL roster after spending like a week and a half in San Francisco and then being like, nah, man, we're good.
Yeah, they got one look at him. He is 25 years old and a free agent. Which
Which is crazy that a former third-round pick, before they even put pads on, made it like a week into San Fran OTAs. And they're like, yeah, you want to do what during the football season? You want to be a fantasy football analyst? No, sir.
And they signed Andre Dillard in the same cycle.
That he is Trent Williams' backup is insane.
Yeah,
if I'm Brock
he's still
Purdy,
there.
I'm sweating. Please, Trent, please hold up for just another season. Because I know Trent Williams had some health stuff last year for the first time in quite a while. Trent Williams, who is 37 years old and still arguably as good a tackle, though he's not the best graded tackle anymore, according to Pro Football Focus, is still so much above and beyond better than the vast majority of NFL left tackles in football. Now, the Titans preparing themselves in the pre-draft process to add Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick. They wanted to make sure that they can keep their rookie as upright as humanly possible. And whether you think it was an overpay or not, they got a professional left tackle in Dan Moore. What does a professional left tackle have to be? He just has to be better than Andre Dillard and Dennis Daly and slightly better than J.C. Latham was last year. He just has to be league average for you to be able to operate. We have made this point a million times over. Peter Skoronski showed promise last year. In fact, I think Skoronski probably didn't get enough credit for how much better he got once he had his health back and available to him after his rookie season. Maybe Peter Skoronski never turns into an all-pro. Maybe he's not Zach Martin or Quentin Nelson or anything like that, but he's good. I can confidently say that Peter Skoronski is a good NFL offensive lineman. We will see what happens with Lloyd Cushenberry. We know that Kevin Zeitler, even though he's an old man at this point in his NFL career, he was still Pro Football Focus's 3rd best graded guard in his most recent year in Detroit. We'll see if that can't hold serve here in Tennessee. And then J.C. Latham flips back to his natural position at right tackle, and you feel cautiously optimistic about the state of the Titans offensive line group.
All right, what's this PFF ranking you wanted to talk about?
They have ranked the offensive line units from top to bottom for the 2025 season based on how they graded out last year. Now, continuity obviously goes a long way, and the Titans will not have a ton of continuity. They will have some, but not relative to the rest of the league.
Hold on. This is based on the players Like factoring in how Dan Moore played last year, or is it the Titans unit from last year?
It is these players individually as a unit, taking into account their performance
last season,
right. Their injury history, and how many snaps the unit has played collectively together. There are some units who are untouched from year over year. They get bonus points for that because that matters.
Which this unit, these 5 have never played a single snap with these 5 on the field.
That is correct. It will surprise no one that even though Mekhi Becton moved on to Los Angeles, he's a Charger now. He was their right guard. That Jordan Mailata, Lane Johnson, Landon Dickerson, and Cam Jurgens are the league's best offensive line group. That's Philadelphia. The Denver Broncos are second. I don't know how many people would guess or would know based off of performance or talent. Again, to your point about how many people in the league how many NFL fans could name 5 guards. Quinn Miners might be a guard that you may be able to name if for no other reason you remember his belly being out at the Senior Bowl and you being delighted by it because he had that Captain Caveman hair and he was a funny personality and all these other things. Turns out, really good offensive lineman.
I remember this discussion because somebody called in saying offensive linemen are the most unheralded position, that they don't get enough credit. And you very much disagreed with that, but you couldn't name 5 starting guards.
I think I did.
You couldn't name the Broncos. Like, we found...
No, I did that. I named Quinn Miners.
No.
Run the tape.
You could barely name, like, 2 starters on the Broncos offensive line, which we found another ranking that had them as the number 1 or 2 offensive line in football last year.
I named 5 guards.
Thus proving the caller's point.
I named 5 guards. You won't convince me otherwise.
Can you guys name where he went to school at? Do you remember that?
Oh, was Wisconsin Whitewater?
Yeah, that's my boy.
Like D3, right?
That's my boy.
How did you? That's a hell of a.
Because I remember him at Senior Bowl. I remember this kid out of it's D3, right?
Yeah,
there's
one of these guys every year, like Forrest Lamp out of Western Kentucky or Ollie Marpet.
Ollie Marpet was a good player. Forrest Lamp really never panned out.
No,
Forrest Lamp was Western
sucked.
Kentucky.
Forrest Lamp sucked.
Wisconsin Whitewater has been on the brain before, too, because that's Lance Leipold was the coach there for a long time, the Kansas coach.
All right, that's a good pullback.
Who's done a great job.
So, the Titans here aren't the worst. How many rankings this year have you been able to find where the Titans aren't the worst? They're 24th.
Still bottom 10, but right on the cusp.
Buddy. You got to start somewhere. It's been what? When did Lawan blow his knee out? 2020?
No, that was 2020.
No, it was
Buffalo.
The first year he blew his knee out was 2020.
Oh, the first time, yeah.
Right. And then he was never the same after that. Like, they got through 21 all right, but I think 21 was the Cardinals game, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure, but 21 was also get the number 1 seed, paving the way for Dante Foreman's season.
He wasn't available for that. He was
it was Quesenberry was having a great year. I think
he was having an all right year.
But he was punching above his weight.
I think Dennis Kelly was still on the roster.
I think So they held it down for sure.
So I'm just very impressed by I very rarely tell you when I'm actually impressed by you. The Wisconsin Whitewater pull was a good pull by you.
I just remember it. You remember those prospects that just come out from those random schools.
I remembered him at the Senior Bowl. I did not remember Wisconsin.
I remember that being the big deal, that this guy was from Wisconsin Whitewater.
Robert, you have thoughts?
I was looking up Ollie Marpet.
He retired early.
Do you know what he did in 23? He climbed Mount Kilimanjaro.
Doesn't Chris Long do that with a bunch of like offensive linemen and defensive linemen every year? Was that for the Water Boys thing?
I would have to check. I had no idea about this.
Yeah,
That's
he has
awesome.
Because Golick Jr. did that with him a couple of years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got to get Chris. Maybe it was on the morning show we got Chris Long on.
We should do a show trip to Kilimanjaro.
I would love that.
Show trip. Actually, I want to go on safari. I don't want to take you to, but
we got to take my dad. He loves hunting.
I'll take your dad.
Oh, no, stop.
You know what?
I bring my gun?
I'd take him just for security. I want to look at him. I don't want to get close to him.
Right. Keep these boars away from me.
I want to pet the tiger.
They get close enough. I want my house to look like Quinn Ewers. All right. I'm not messing around with any of these things.
Can I pet that dog?
So the Titans are not the worst in something exciting. 24th, still bottom 10, but not the worst. Can you guess the units ranked below the Titans?
Of the players based on their performances last year.
The offensive
even if they're
line.
on a new team.
Yep.
The Texans.
Texans are the worst.
Oh, and they lost the best player on their offensive line.
Right. Well, they're accounting for that because they lost Laramie Tunsil and Shaq Mason, who wasn't great, with them in his final year. But, like, the biggest issue with C.J. Stroud last year was not C.J. Stroud. It was the Texans' offensive line, and they got worse.
Is Seattle on there?
Seattle's 30.
The Bengals would have to be on there.
Bengals are 31.
Yeah.
So you've got 4 left.
The Patriots.
The Patriots are 29.
The Giants.
The Giants and Jags are both on there. Give me one more. Actually, I'm sorry, 2 more.
The
Cardinals? I don't know anything about the Cardinals.
The Dolphins are there.
So we need one more. Bad offense.
Made worse by their quarterback situation last year.
The Browns?
The Browns.
Bang, baby!
There you go. That was good.
Browns.
The level of ball knowledge has been on another level.
We are just balling.
For allegations that nobody knows anything about the offensive line, we just collectively nailed the worst offensive line units in the league.
Except
anyway,
you can't name 5 guards.
I have done that before. I'm not going to do it again.
Come on. Just give us 3. Give us 3 guards that have not played in Tennessee.
Yeah.
That have not played in Tennessee.
Go ahead. Oh, no, you can't. You can't. But can you name receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks, cornerbacks? Oh, yes, you can. Thus proving the point from months ago.
We can go to Mount Kilimanjaro for $1,500.
I did it months ago. For $1,500, that's it?
Yes, 21 and a half hours.
It's a very, climbable mountain.
Wait, that's the flight? The flight is 21 and a half hours?
Yes, it's with Spirit, so I know you'll do it.
Never in my life.
Herky-jerky flight for 20 hours.
There's going to be a little bit of turbulence, guys.
Are you insane?
There's drinks spilling everywhere, people flying up into it for 20
assuming they
hours.
don't even give you drinks on Spirit Airlines. I'm assuming 21 hours, you better pack an IV, bud.
Okay, no, it's Qatar Airways, $1,500.
Oh, that's different. That's classy.
Yeah,
that's a nice flight.
When do you guys want to go?
Blood money. That's blood money flight.
I can book this for Saturday, July 26th.
Book it. That's my mom's birthday. I can't make it.
Bring her too. $1,500. Hell.
Brandon Camp not going to do that. We can reconvene on that.
Titans open practice.
Yes, there is that too.
Yeah.
They're not going to miss us.
No, I'm certain they wouldn't. I'm certain they would be just fine with us going to Mount Kilimanjaro.
They're probably listening over there like, please go to Mount Kilimanjaro.
Buddy, what do you think the last 5 years of my existence on this radio station? Please leave. Please get out of here. Stop killing us.
Real quick, what's the best case scenario for a ranking like this? Let's say...
This is the best case scenario, 24.
No, let's say...
Before they've played a snap, them not being the worst.
I know, I'm saying, season's over, PFF puts out a ranking
24.
of the best offensive lines in the NFL. You think that's best case?
Yes.
No, best case is just league average is 17, right? Is like if everything comes together,
they are nowhere close to league average.
These
players are not league average collectively.
If everything comes together on the offensive line this year under Bill Callahan, they have the potential to be a league average unit, which is all we're asking for.
I don't know that to be so. I would consider them below average at best, and I would say if they prove anything otherwise, then that's gravy.
Sure,
I'm
with you.
Zero expectation that they are going to be anything but a...
But to say that the best case scenario is they're a bottom 10 unit, no. The best case scenario
Why would
is
that
they
not
are
be the
league
best
average.
case scenario when they haven't been able to sniff bottom 10? They've been the worst.
Of course they have to prove it, Buck. Of course they do. I'm not saying they are now. I'm just saying best case scenario by
Okay, fine.
season's
I'll give you
end.
4 more spots. I'll give you 20. Can they be better than the Kansas City Chiefs? The Kansas City Chiefs may field the worst offensive line they've had in front of Patrick Mahomes. And if the Titans could get that would be an improvement.
It's definitely the worst O-line for a legitimate contender.
It's interesting you say that, too, because the Kansas City Chiefs also paid for a left tackle this offseason who may not even start for them.
Yeah.
Paying Jalen Moore $15 million a year.
Because that was the second biggest one after Dan Moore, right?
Right. And it happened immediately. So I wonder if the Chiefs were also in the running for Dan Moore.
Well, they were certainly in the running for your boy Orlando.
Nope. Wrong one. Can't even name tackles.
Ronnie Stanley. Yeah, Ronnie Stanley.
Can't even name tackles.
Orlando Brown is terrible for the Bengals, by the way.
He's moderately priced, though. I think his yearly AAV is like $15 million or something.
He did play
like
for
that.
the Chiefs, though.
He did. Yeah, we traded him to the Chiefs before his rookie deal was up.
See?
I know something, see? I helped.
But I like Lucas, the Steelers, the Saints, the Cowboys even, who are totally in flux. If the Titans could have a better offensive line than the Cowboys this year, I'd be stunned.
Sure.
That's the unit ranked directly above them.
But again, we're talking about best case scenario.
Yeah, I'm saying the best case scenario is that they're okay, bottom 11 as opposed to bottom 10.
Okay, that's a
still
very pessimistic best case scenario.
No, I think it's realistic based on what they've been able to do. How many of these players still have uncertainty around them? What is Lloyd Cushenberry?
There's uncertainty around Lloyd
a
Cushenberry.
complete unknown. Dan Moore gave up 14 sacks last year, and I know a lot of those are on Justin Fields. I'm not ignorant to that fact whatsoever. I still have no idea whether Kevin Zeitler, if the wall is going to come this year for a 36-year-old player or not. They tried. I respect that they tried. I don't know what it's going to be.
We'll explain the definition of best case scenario to you in the break. We don't have time now.
Jordan Matthews next. Welcome back to the show, fueled by Hattie Bees Hot Chicken, the best hot chicken in the world. Always cool when local greats from any of the sports teams, any of the programs that make the sports scene in Nashville great, give back to the community, and that's exactly what Jordan Matthews, who joins us now, former Vanderbilt wide receiver, is doing with the Vandy Legends charity softball game. Tickets are still available right now. You can go to MatthewsMission.com for more details. The game itself is tomorrow at Hawkins Field. Doors open at 5 p.m., and it all goes to benefit Eli's House, which is there to help women and children thrive after trauma-related situations. Jordan joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. I know it's not your first visit with the station here in the last couple of weeks, Jordan, but we do appreciate you stopping by here and putting up with us. Thanks for doing it.
And appreciate you guys having me. I'm trying to get the word out as much as possible. I think anytime we can galvanize the community for a common interest and a common good is always a beautiful thing, and especially when it comes to affecting the lives of families. My foundation, Matthew's Mission, is really built on the belief that, it takes a village, and we believe that the foundation of any strong society is going to be family. And a lot of these families are in need of people to support them financially, emotionally, spiritually. And Eli's House was the foundation that my wife brought to me. She was like, these people are tangibly doing something good. They're working with real people, real women, real children, and doing the work that needs to be done. And so we got in touch with their CEO, Jenny, and it's been great ever since. So we're excited to put this game on.
Well, it's such great work that you're doing and incredibly important. I imagine that the process to find charities to support may be kind of exhausting, depending on what you're looking for and, references. I guess how did you go about, and you mentioned your wife bringing this to your attention, but you guys going through the process of identifying charities that do meaningful work, because not to shade anybody out there, but there are some that are maybe not quite as scrupulous.
No, I think that's important. I think the first thing you have to look at is internally, right? Like, what speaks to you? Because there's going to be some tough days when it comes to scheduling, different calls you have to make. You're going to get bad news along the way. And the purpose that you're working toward has to be greater than some of that adversity to make you want to say, hey, it's okay, because I still want to make sure this is a great event. If anything, for those kids and those women over at Eli's House. But then also you do have to think about the people who are going to be supporting. I firmly understand why people may be skeptical, of certain charities. Like, where is my money going? So that's something that I also spent a lot of time talking to my family about. Was I wanted to pick a foundation, a charity, some type of organization that you could really feel in touch what they were doing. It didn't seem like the people that you're emailing or the people you're conversing with are far off, or there's all these gatekeepers to who is actually, where's the money going? I got in touch with the CEO with one phone call, and she has adopted children of her own. It's very real for her at the home level, but then also on the mission level, Jenny's doing it in a really impactful way. So once my wife told me about Eli's House, she learned about them at a women's night at our church. I was like, yeah, these are real people doing real good. So it really was a no-brainer once my wife brought them to me.
Former Vandy wide receiver, NFL tight end Jordan Matthews here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Again, MatthewsMission.com is where you can go to get those tickets. They are still available. It's going to be awesome. Sounds like you got, I was looking through the roster. I know a handful of people that are playing in the game. What are you doing? Let the Raw Room crew run around out there.
Man, those are my guys, man. Look, so, Darren Bates, obviously Jalen Collins, King Dunlap, and my boy Alex Sweet. Their podcast, I feel like, to me, is the closest to still just what the locker room feels like.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of the media, with a lot of the guys that are now trying to transition into podcasting, there's always that pull to kind of say, well, if we just get a little bit more buttoned up, a little bit more corporate, we may get this sponsorship, we may get this guest. And quite frankly, those guys do not care. I love that. I love that about them because they speak to their audience specifically. They haven't switched up. If you know anything about Darren Bates, I don't think he'll ever switch up. That dude is himself at all times. What's crazy is he's also an assistant coach of the Panthers.
Yeah.
I was just with the Panthers the last 2 years. And we would do a podcast together. And I'd be like, there's no way he's going to have a job in the NFL after today. But he would, because people love him. They like who he is who he is. And he elevates every room that he's in. And so whether it's the Raw room, he's being himself. Whether it's a special teams meeting with the Carolina Panthers, he's being himself. In every place I've gone, he's been successful. But yeah, ultimately though, those guys are great. I knew when I had this event, I was like, I'm gonna need some PA announcers. Yeah. Do I want to go the more, traditional route, or do I want to bring some life into this? And so I decided to hit up my guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's you gotta. I mean, I know you know this because you know them, and DB is he's the first.
DB's rogue. He's a renegade.
Oh my God, Lucas is terrified to have him back on the radio show because I think his last appearance he zoomed in and said the F word within 10 seconds of being on FCC Safe Radio.
Yeah,
so
I'm surprised he lasted that long.
It might have been first month on the job.
Yeah, I know. I mean, Lucas was producing the show at the time and just fully terrified. He's also the first NFL player to check my ass as a reporter in the locker room. I got a lot of love for DB. What they've done, I appreciate the perspective that you put on that. I know we're going to talk about the softball game as opposed to the Raw room, but it really is unique the way that they've just gone about it their own way and had great success. Specifically on YouTube with the podcast that way. So cool to see you incorporating them. I know Kevin Byard is going to be involved, Philip Forsberg, so many others. Again, MatthewsMission.com is where you go to get tickets.
Well, I mean, looking at the stacked rosters here, you mentioned Forsberg and Byard. That's just a couple of the guys. Sean Johnson, Titans tight end Gunnar Helm, Robert Tonyan, Tyrell Dodson, Golden Tate, all in the Nashville Stars roster. Then you got the Vandy Legends roster, Jordan, with yourself, Tony Kemp, Shane Foster, literally three of the greats at their respective sports at Vanderbilt. Clark Lee in there as well. How do you like your chances tomorrow at Hawkins Field with the Vandy Legends?
Yeah, I think initially people would assume, okay, well, you've got a whole team of athletes on one side, and they start looking at the Nashville Stars roster and okay, well, we've got a couple country music singers in here. We've got a guy that people don't know, some of these guys are like Mitchell Tenpenny, he's coming to play. He's been excited about doing this thing. I know he's going to come out there and look to do something. John Deloney, I love that guy. I can't wait to meet John Deloney, too. I love his show on the Grant Ramsey show. He does an amazing job. But he's actually a really good baseball player. He talks about it a lot on his talk show. So he's going to actually be pretty stout for them, too. Sean Johnson, obviously, as an athlete, goes without saying, Olympic gold medalist. But those guys you named, between Golden, Rob, those guys can play baseball, Gunner, Phil. So, and then my trainer, Jeremy Holt, he's kind of like a celebrity trainer. He trains George Kittle, TJ Hawkinson, all the major, NFL guys in the city. Jay Holt trains them. He's an athlete. So they got a good squad. Dude, people cannot sleep on them. I'm really going to lean on Mr. Vanderbilt, though, for our team. I'm leaning on my guy, Diego. I'm leaning on him because I've got to facilitate, too. So there's going to be a little bit of my bandwidth that's allocated to, hey, how's the music? How's the sound? Are we ready to go do this?
Oh, yeah. So you're hosting.
I'm hosting. So they're going to steal some of that dog from me. So I'm going to look at hey, I need you to do you. Take over. So I need Diego to show up for me. Obviously, me and Tony partnered on this, and I love Tony's heart for the community. It's crazy that it was on the heels of his retirement, too. So to bring Tony Kemp back into Hawkins for an amazing event for a great cause, I think is very poetic to just the type of person who he is. So I think some fans will be excited to see him play, but I'm not going to act like that wasn't for also recruiting purposes. Well, I got one of the best baseball players, I think, in college baseball history on my team, so I'm excited about that.
Well, Diego Pavia's got plenty of dog to go around, so
Doggy.
You'll be okay.
Spades.
I mean, how energized were you by what he did for your football program last year?
Dude, I tell you, I feel like a proud father watching him sometimes, man. And I've already told this story, so forgive me, but I think it's the most telling thing about how I felt real time watching him. We came to the Virginia Tech game because, during the season, once the NFL season starts, all the guys, they check their schedule. Okay, when's my bye week? You kind of see if your bye week matches up with a home game for your college team. It didn't this year, so the only game I could go to was the Virginia Tech game at the beginning of the season, right after training camp. And the first drive, he's making plays. And I started looking to everybody sitting around me. I'm like, is anybody seeing like what I'm seeing? You know, and people are like used to seeing, you know, quarterbacks scramble, running guys, and you know, in college, but it looks kind of different. The next drive, he puts another great series together. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to be convinced now. By the second half, I looked to Shayna and I was like, I will let this guy babysit our children. Like, I trust him. I trust him with the rock. I didn't need to see anything else. You can tell when you see it. And he just kept making me proud the entire year. Whenever I'm in this building, I'm actually up at Vandal right now. This is where I'm training at for the off season. And it's easy because I train and I work on the game. But man, he's always here. He's always grinding. He's what you want leading the pack. And so for me, I couldn't be prouder of where he's at, because I know I can tell him like, hey, man, I love what you're doing, and it's not going to make him satisfied. He's only going to get hungrier. So it's going to be fun competing with him, too. It's going to be my only opportunity.
Vandy great Jordan Matthews here with us on 104.5 The Zone. For those of you who are live streaming the show today, we have dropped the link to get tickets, MatthewsMission.com, for you guys to pick up those tickets to attend the game. It's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of great people and a lot of high-level competition. I want to go back to Jeremy Holt, though, because that's not a name that a lot of people know. I know Jeremy because he's trained a lot of the guys that I've covered, and I actually went over when he was still running Athlete out of Lipscomb to see some of the work that he was doing. Things like tight end U don't happen without somebody like Jeremy Holt, Jordan. And I wonder if you could speak to the impact that he's had on making the city a place where athletes, high-level athletes, want to come and train, and then also to give back to the community once they realize how special a place this is. Not to give Jay Holt too much credit, but he's had a huge hand in what this has become over the course of several years at this point.
No, that's my brother. That's my brother. And so many of the guys that we got too, I mean, we got Golden really off the back of Jeremy Holt. You know, I was like, Jay Holt, man, I need some players. He said, I'll call Golden right now, and I'll call Decker. And Golden was able to do it, and Decker was committed until I think his wife planned a beach trip for them, and hey, what Jesse says goes.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
so,
right.
but Eric was coming too, and so Jay Holt helped me get a few players from that Nashville Stars team because he's so well connected. Look, any trainer can program a workout. Like, you can go on YouTube and look at the top few drills that wide receivers are doing, lay down some cones and say, let's push it. But it's about the person that Jeremy Holt is that makes people have that gravitational pull to him. He's infectious. He's always in a good mood. He will always motivate you. And, you know, people think like, oh, yeah, well, of course, like he's a trainer. But people know when it's authentic or not. They do. You know when it's real, and you know when it's actually who that person is. He loves what he does. And like I said, I can't say enough good things about him. He's truly, he was a trainer at first. Then he became a friend. Now he's like a brother to me. Another guy that, now I'm not jokingly saying this, like if I was in a situation and I needed somebody to help me with something drastic, hey, I need you to go help me with my kid here, or hey, something's at my house, can you go pick it up? Jay Holt's the person that I call. Everybody needs somebody like that, and he fits that bill. Probably not just for me, but for a lot of people. So I'm excited to have him a part of this game.
The rare trainer athletic enough to do the drills
he can
with
do
you
it.
guys. Because if I'm not mistaken, he was a college running back.
Yep, at Harding. Yep, yeah. He's got some skills. And he's a kind of all-around athlete, too. I don't know how he does it because I only see him eat Chick-fil-A. So I'm like, how have you kept this body? I don't know. He says, like, man, it's Jesus chicken, so it's good for me. Whatever he's doing, Jesus though, is working for him. And I'm telling you, he's gonna be active for this game. Like, I really hope you guys can come out. I don't care if y'all can set up, you get some chairs, be the TNT crew for us. I don't care, set up something, have fun. But you guys need to come out for this game because it's going to be competitive.
MatthewsMission.com is where you go to get those tickets. It's going to be an awesome night for an awesome cause. Eli's House is what they are working to benefit. Speaking of high-level athletes, and I'm sure you've been asked this question several times since you started to make the transition from position to position, Jordan, but for you, what's the degree of difficulty moving from NFL wide receiver to tight end? Because you've had an incredibly long NFL career at this point and continuing on into last season with Carolina, your most recent stop. What was the biggest degree of difficulty for you?
So the degree of difficulty from going from receiver to tight end really has to do with the mental preparation. I'll be honest, until I probably got to my 6th year, and maybe partly some of this is my fault, but I think this is a lot of receivers' reality. You rarely know much about the run game. Okay. You'll know, okay, well, do I have to get to the force block? Do I block safety on this? Okay, I'm man on. I'm only sticking on the corner. I'm reacting to this quarters or if it's cover 2. There's a few blocking assignments with a few specialty things, but for the most part, you have no idea what's going on in the run game. Everything's about crafting, getting open, catching the ball, and scoring touchdowns. So when you go to tight end, like the game plan completely opens up. Like throughout a week, we talk about everything from run blocking, pass protection, play action, deep routes, short intermediate, catching, getting yak. Like, it's so intricate. I actually tell people all the time, that playing wide receiver is fun for one aspect because, you're the guy, you're a big focal point of the offense. But I think my personality fit the tight end room a little bit better because I love the feeling that every single play matters. You can tell receivers that, but let's just be honest. Most of the time, when you're on the backside of a route, it don't matter as much. Or if it's a run play, it's just the reality. I hate that it's that way, but let's just be real. At tight end, every single play you're involved in at a high level. And so I've loved that transition and being able to do that. I will say this, though. Now, Kittle might be mad at me when I say this, but I will compliment Kittle first. He's, to me, the best epitome of what the tight end position is right now currently in the game. Travis, otherworldly, route runner, just crazy good in the receiving game. But George probably has the best 1-2 punch of being an elite blocker and an elite pass catcher. I still think, though, you know how a few years ago, most tight ends were, hey, there's this basketball player who's really good at basketball, but he's not great. Okay, bring him to football. What position were you going to put him at? Tight end.
Play him tight end, yeah.
We got a receiver here. Hey, he's really long. Darren Waller, his separation is pretty good. You move him to tight end, now he's elite. Okay? So the tight end position still, there's a lot of opportunity there because it's still in flux. I think a lot of offensive coordinators around college football and the NFL are still trying to figure out what that position actually looks like as the game evolves. Truly, you go tell me your number one tight end on every team, it's a totally different look, totally different body type. You go to any other position, you're going to have some similarities with a few outliers like a Derrick Henry at the right. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
So because of that, it's brought a lot of opportunity, you know what I mean? And I think it'll soon be one of those positions that I'll call a specialized position where it's not like you're taking a left tackle who's a little bit athletic and saying, let's move him here. Or a receiver that's, okay, let's move him here. It'll be a primary position where you're starting to see kids as early as middle school and high school saying, I am a tight end, and I'm happy about that. So I think it's getting there.
It may be the biggest utility position on the football field right now. To your point about all the different body types, all the different skill sets, all the different acumen required to understand both the pass game and the run game as you've articulated. Jordan, it's great work that you're doing. We're so excited for you guys. I know it's going to be an awesome time tomorrow night at Hawkins Field. Again, MatthewsMission.com is where you go to get those tickets. Thanks for doing it for the community, and give my guy Larry Leathers some love on the other side of this. Larry has saved me from getting fired from a couple of different jobs, so I owe him probably as much as anybody over there.
Yeah. If you can get Larry working for you, and if you can get Darren Bates not to curse on your show, you'll keep a job. If you do those two things, you'll be good.
I can do one. I definitely can't do the other.
You can't control the other.
Thanks, Jordan. We appreciate it, buddy.
I appreciate you guys.
That's Jordan Matthews.
Bye, Jordan. Love you.
With us. That's Jordan Matthews with us on 104.5 The Zone. Are you going to do that to me every time?
I just think it's necessary.
What is he doing to you?
Yeah.
Just
Everything about you. He spreads a little bit of love, and it's all about you.
They don't see him.
You don't know if anyone has told Jordan Matthews that someone loves him today. That's what I'm here to do. Anybody that calls
I'm certain more important people than you have told them that they love Jordan Matthews in their lives.
You don't know that. Yeah, in his life, he might need it today, and that's what I'm here to do. Okay. Anybody calls in, they're going to get I love you.
I can't wait for an awkward conversation the next time I see Jordan Matthews about it. What's going on here?
I'm like, hey, I love you too, bro. That's what he's going to tell you.
Maybe so. Maybe so. Probably not, but maybe so. Last call for phone calls. That went great. 615-737-1045. Show's just gone very, very fast this week for everybody but Lucas because he's desperately trying to get out of here to go on vacation. But we're going to hold him for just a little bit longer. Polls next.
It is the best time of the workday. It's lunchtime. Hey, it's Lucas Panzica to talk to you about Hattie Bees. You can visit any one of their 7 locations, the Factory at Franklin, Lower Broadway, Melrose, Midtown, Nashville West, even the Nashville Airport. But this week and this week only, Burger Week, if you go over to Joyland, you can get the Joyland Hattie Bees collab burger. We sampled it in the studio earlier. An incredible burger with that Hattie Bees pimento cheese and the slaw and the Hattie Bees fried pickle with a little bit of that Hattie Bees spice. Thinking about downing another one as we speak. But any time of the year, you can always download the Hattie Bees app, order for pickup or delivery. By the way, you get a free dessert literally by just downloading the app. You know it's the best hot chicken in the world. Hand-breaded, cooked to order. Add to your spice level. Hot or not, whatever works for you. And pick your favorite side. They don't skimp on the sides. It's very important. Southern Greens, the pimento mac and cheese. You can't go wrong. They're also doing great work in the community with 100% of their sales in Texas today benefiting victims of the devastating floods in Texas. Great people, great food. Go to Hattie Bees today.
Welcome back to the show. Robert told me that we had like 5 different people call in right after that interview ended just to tell Robert Walsh that they loved him.
I love you too.
You feel
I
validated?
love you too, Nashville.
Mm-hmm. You sound like Jelly Roll.
Yeah, they did.
There's somebody out there
Jelly Roll vibes.
with a size 18 foot and a size 10 shoe. It's going to get better.
Shout out to all of those people that called in, that rose above Buck's cloud of negativity.
Oh, my
to
God.
share some love.
I just think it's a weird thing for him to scream at people as they're leaving. I love you!
I did to scream it. He might have been leaving. You don't know.
He might have enjoyed it.
That's what you're going to be screaming at Tiffany Stratton this weekend at the SmackDown show.
All right.
I love you, Tiffany.
What makes you think she's my type?
Look her up. Look up her on the work
Just
Wi-Fi.
by nature of being an attractive woman?
No, I think she fits her whole thing is that she's daddy's money. She's very, she likes the finer
Does
thing
she
in
have
life.
Oh, so they have a lot in common.
Yes.
That's good. Could she beat it? She could beat him up, too.
Oh, yeah, 100%. She's a former, I believe, cheerleader, but she is jacked. Yes, I think I would accept her proposal. Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I'm interested in the show now. Yeah, baby.
All right. So we have a conflict here, though, because I did get you these WWE tickets.
Oh, what do you want?
Well, I kind of want to go to the softball game.
Okay.
What time does the WWE match start? Maybe we go, because the doors open for the softball game at 5.
Yeah, and we can go after. I'm down with that.
Well, they also have an after party that I've been informed about, which I'm down to
You know I love an after party.
partake in, and I can't go out on Saturday because I'm doing Fox 7 to 10.
Am I invited to the after party?
I haven't decided that yet.
That will determine whether I'm going to go to that softball game or not.
Well, that's a bad look on you because it's for charity.
Well, be that as it may, I will match whatever charitable contribution that
Will you?
whatever I give to charity, I will match that and I will double it.
You'll double it.
yeah, double it and give it to the next person.
$5? No.
Did
10.
you, speaking of matching, did you tell Lucas what you and I did on primetime last night?
No, I'd rather not.
Beyond the comments about your physical appearance that were being made by people who are also in this chat.
We debated a tier list that came out yesterday of NFL quarterbacks that you would like to smoke pot with.
Did you see this list? I don't know if it was a Barstool list. It looks like the same Barstool graphic that
they make them on tiermaker.com. Any tier is made on that website. Looks like
I'm
that.
telling you, some of like the nightmare rotation ones were so funny. And Bert and I, it's as expert football analysis as I think the two of us have ever given.
Put together for sure. When I was looking at it, the only part that Buck bucked me on was he does not think that Brock Purdy would be a narc if you were smoking. And I disagree with this wholeheartedly. Brock Purdy is as white bread, is as nana boo boo. I'm going to tell on you.
Over Kirk Cousins?
Kirk Cousins would be chill. Kirk Cousins would be like the dad who hit it twice and be like, "Don't tell your mom."
You told dad that you were giving him an edible, and then he doesn't realize what giving him an edible means exactly.
You're talking about Kirk O'Chains, man. Yeah, Brock does kind of have that look.
Well, I couldn't figure out because we then named our dream rotations, and I couldn't find Jameis anywhere. I was like, how the hell
Jameis is the one.
Is there a list?
Yeah.
That does not have Jameis Winston.
No, he was on there, and they were alleging.
No, I know, but I couldn't find it for the longest.
Yes.
Because my nightmare rotation was Aaron Rodgers, Anthony Richardson, because he would immediately start like trying out his new rap album on you, and I don't want anything to do with that. I believe we actually, no, that's not true. I didn't have Rodgers because he wouldn't let me pick Rodgers or Deshaun. Those two were
I wanted him to dig
allowed.
deep in the reasons
I said
why.
no Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones does not look like somebody I would want to hang out with. And
no Tua.
No Tua.
Jameis would be at the
Tua
top.
would get political, and I don't want to deal with
Any
that.
list. Like, what NFL quarterbacks would you want to go horseback riding with? Jameis Winston's at the top of the list.
Anything. Who was it, by the way, that busted in here like we weren't in the middle of doing the radio show? I didn't have time to whip around and snarl at them.
Usually you're really good at that.
It wasn't a person that I recognized, and they got out quicker than I had the opportunity to just stare them down.
My dream rotation, their dream rotation, I think, is way off base. Josh Allen, Baker Mayfield, Gardner Minshew, Geno Smith. Ugh. Ugh, that sounds like a terrible dream rotation.
I just tell you, I mean, is Josh Allen like somebody that people regard as like fun to be around? I don't know anything about Josh Allen other than I watched a couple of those match competitions, like the golf competition.
Every time I see him interacting with anyone in like the Bills social media team or like any of those like clips they post, he looks like the most awkward dude, like trying not to say something guy I've ever seen in my life. I think everyone just assumes because he is a big white guy, he's like going to be like a big white teddy bear.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's the case. I think he is awkward, and Haley Steinfeld has just picked her a good one out. That's all I think.
Tyler Dial asks, who was the white boy with dreads the Titans drafted? The quarterback from Hawaii. What was his name? He didn't even make it through training camp.
Was it Colton?
No.
Cole something.
Brennan? Cole Brennan?
No, that
Colt Brennan
was the original.
Yeah, the OG, the legend Colt Brennan from like 2007.
Cole McDonald?
Yeah, Cole McDonald. That's what it was.
Is that right?
Yeah, that's what it was.
Okay. Yeah, he
Lucas knows. Luke hooked it up with.
We don't even have time for polls here.
Yes, we do.
Go. Just read the ad.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford, the South's most trusted Ford dealer. Those are the polls.
I meant just rapid fire. Read the polls, but that's fine. Did we not do polls today? What happened? All right, we don't have time for any of this. That's going to do it for us today. That's the show. Blaine and Zach, they're next.